You know what I love?
Sports.
I love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Liucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men. We will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
Very thankful, 12th man. They've won us games.
Been in college baseball for a while now, but I've never experienced anything like 12th man.
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
Our skill set worked great together. Like, he was more speed and I was more power, and then we put together, it was like thunder and lightning, you know.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
We're home. What's up, everybody? TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. After 4 fun-ish days in Dallas for SEC Media Days, David Nuño, Olin Buchanan here during the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. And this is the Rollo Insurance Studio. And the entire presentation, OB, is?
Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
Yeah, we call it TexAgs Radio, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Is that what you wanted me to say?
Well, for now, we call it TexAgs Radio.
For now.
For now. Let that
There's
marinate.
tease.
Just saying, for now.
For now.
We might change it to...
TexAgs forever.
I like that. TexAgs Mania.
TexAgs Mania. And then we can rip off our shirts.
What do you think about the whole week?
Well, everybody knows that I hate media days. I always say it's the 4 longest days of the year for me. You know, it was productive.
Yeah.
There was some, you know what, there just wasn't that great moment. And that so many media days I've come from, you know, Spurrier said this or Leach said that, or, you know, some.
Yeah.
And part of it was Lane Kiffin, of course, you know, was with a heavy heart.
But he did go after Paul Feinbaum.
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
But he had a heavy heart.
The whole Miley Cyrus thing, yeah.
And so we weren't, you know, you know what stays with me? And may go ahead and rebuke me for this, okay? Because maybe I'm getting too provincial and too of it, but what struck me most was how so much of the media that covers Texas was just trying so hard to get SEC coaches, hey, tell us how good Texas is. Tell us how good Texas is. And like, Brian Kelly, you know what? I don't play them this year, so I haven't even looked at their roster. You know, it's like, why are you asking me this?
Hey,
and Kirby Smart was like, yeah, okay, yeah.
True story. Not one Texas media member outside of Kurt Bowles made eye contact with me, even looked in my direction. Like, I heard him. I didn't see him. That's the fact. I saw 1 or 2 at the press conference when Sark was talking, but they were like, but I didn't see them work the room. I didn't see anything. They didn't look at me. I didn't look at them. It was none of that. I saw everybody else. I didn't feel their presence at all.
Well, I was, you know, of course, I spent some time with Cedric Golden and
he's a good dude.
And Kirk, and I was on Chip Brown's show yesterday, and I was on with Aaron
I didn't see him.
Hogan in the morning. So, and of course, you know, I lived over there for a long time, and I know a lot of those guys, Bucky Godbolt. So I was glad to do the show, to do their shows. But, and I'm not about those guys so much. It was just some of the other internet guys that were just, you know, from the very beginning. I guess I get it to a certain degree. Like if you're going to ask Georgia, because you're going to play them, and that's going to be the big game. But when you're asking LSU and we don't play you, why would Brian Kelly have been? And you know, they played. They were in the playoff. You know what? There could have been 4 or 5 teams from that.
Here's the extent of the question. What do you think about the new additions to the SEC? Boom, move on. There's nothing more deeper for teams that don't play Oklahoma or Texas. Like, what else are you going to ask? So, I'm not asking. No, hold on. If you come on my show, I may ask you, our show, I may ask you about, hey, what do you think about Elko? What do you think of, but like at a press conference, that's for everyone.
I thought it was kind of like fishing for compliments, you know?
Yeah. Hey, what do you think about my big biceps?
Yeah.
Opie, what do you think about that?
Yeah, they're pretty impressive there.
They've gotten smaller. Yeah. Anyway,
Well, I didn't want to say that.
I took medicine. It'll be bigger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Get groided up and you'll be right back.
But let's make this about us and not them.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't want it to be, but I really
We don't have to be. We can do whatever we want.
I really can't think of anything else that kind of really stood out. Did what coach said something that you left with went, wow, that's something that I'm going to like. I remember one time Steve Spurrier said, yeah, we beat Clemson and we thought that was a pretty big deal, but or maybe he said we beat Georgia, somebody. And then they lost a couple of games later. We realized that wasn't such a big deal, like that.
I got the best line, and I'm going to be selfish here. And I don't remember exactly how it was written. Huh?
Let's hear it.
It was the headline to your column. Say less, do more.
Yeah, say less, do more.
He said basically that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, that was for Texas A&M, that resonates.
Yeah, it does. But that's kind of been the message. Maybe not said that directly, but for the last, and it is absolutely the way. I love that about the approach. We've heard so much about A&M in the past. Oh, this is what's going to happen. Let's how good they can be. Don't even talk about it. Just do it. And by the way, and I wrote about this. This. The fact that it has, except for some issues involving baseball, it's been a quiet off season, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Here's something that I took away. A lot of people think A&M could have a really nice year. And then when I ask them about that, I don't know, maybe 8-4. I think that would be a good step. And while, yes, 8-4 is better than 7-5, that's not like nobody's happy about 8-4. You're let me rephrase that. You're content with 8-4 based on where you've been the last couple of years because it is a step in the right direction. But let's go ahead and be honest. They could have been 8-4 last year. They could have been 9-3 last year. We want better. We want better management of games. We want better culture, better coaching, and we've got all that. So why would be okay with 7-5 and 8-4?
Yeah, 8-4 is like getting a date with someone who's a 6. So I guess I understand how my wife's been kind of feeling for the last 20 years. But
you think you're a 6?
Yeah, probably a 6. One time I was better than that, but I've been careening downhill for a few years, so I still got my hair and I'm tall.
You are tall.
And I still got my hair.
Do you?
Yeah, it's still there, dude.
More than I do. Anyway, like it's almost like they were paying us a compliment. No, I think it could be a good year for A&M. I think you guys could probably go 8-4. Dude, that's an okay year, right?
Yeah.
And I know the last 2 years you haven't reached that, but it's July. I want more than 8-4.
Of course.
If you navigate through a season, and you got injuries and you got this and that, then of course you reevaluate. It's freaking July. I want minimum 9 wins is what I want.
Minimum, yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
Right? Minimum 9. And I think it's doable because I believe the change. Now here's where I can counter. Like, well, why is it going to be difficult? What did Coach Elko say? 48% of the roster turnover.
Yeah,
that's difficult.
That's a lot of.
It's
not necessarily a bad thing.
But what about your key play? Yeah, exactly right. What about your key players that are back? I'm sorry, I'm sold. Do you remember? And I said this to Billy yesterday. I'll say it to you. Do you remember the first time I went to an A&M football practice under the Jimbo regime? I was what's the word I'm looking for here? I watched Michael Clemens. I was like, oh my God, this guy's an NFL player. And I remember coming back and explaining to you guys on the show, like, I've been covering U of H and Rice, and I saw these, what I thought were men, and I see this guy. Now that's a man, all right? He was in a suit. He's not dressed out. But I saw that dude. I go, oh, that's a man when it comes to Shamar Turner.
Yeah, Shamar, who looked like he was trying to burst through the like his thighs were trying to burst through his pants. He's up to 300 pounds. I got to believe a lot of that's just in the lower body, from the where the power comes from when you're rushing and things like that. So, yeah, Shamar looked great. And I think we all anticipated it, but to acknowledge and confirm it that he's going to move inside, where he should have been all along. Shamar played great last year, but one of my biggest concerns or questions they didn't really have the speed rush off the end. And maybe it's because you're putting guys that should be playing inside, outside, you know? So Shamar, the way he looks and putting him at tackle where he can really wreak some havoc and, you know, give you an inside pass rush.
Yep.
Because I think they're going to, you know, Scorton's going to give you an outside pass rush. Shamar Stewart may be able to give you the kid from Bowling Green, Cassius Howell.
Cassius Howell.
You know,
that's a great name. Cassius, like if I could do it again.
I thought you like.
Oh, not Jason Howell. No, that's an average name. But Cassius, if I could have another kid, Cash Nuño, Cassius Nuño.
Yeah, anybody named Cassius just sounds tough.
It could be a dog, and it could be a linebacker. It could be a defensive lineman. It could be president.
If my wife ever, you know, would have had twins, I think I would have named them Cassius and Clay. Yeah.
I know how you operate, buddy. Here's another one for you. You know that I covered J.J. Watt for a long time, right?
I do know that.
Right? And I'm not comparing their games by any stretch, okay? But J.J. had the amazing ability to have the right tone when the fan base needed it.
Okay.
If there was a bad loss, he would look in the camera and you would feel the loss in his eyes. If there was an amazing victory, the way he'd speak, it galvanized the fan base.
Okay.
Who yesterday did that? What linebacker entering his second year really hit the tone when it comes to being an A&M fan?
Well, quite frankly, you know, Torrin York is really good. You know what?
He had the right tone yesterday, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. He's a smart kid and speaks well, and I think you're right. He has a good grasp on what the whole fan base, really, and the team probably feels the same way as the fan base. You know, here was my favorite quote, was from Trey Zoom.
Trey?
And I asked him, I said, hey, you know, you guys hear the concerns and everything about the offensive line that everybody has? You know, how do y'all deal with it? He said, it pisses us off. I like that.
I like it too.
I like it.
He also, the Tommy Moffitt effect. Why am I yelling?
Everybody's talking about
I feel like Dana White yesterday who was yelling. I'm yelling at the microphone. I apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry. But
you're Dana Brown.
Explain.
Well, he's white. You're brown.
You think I'm brown?
Yeah, look at you right now. You look very tanned. Huh. Have you been out in the sun lately?
I think bronze is better.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. He's Dana Bronze. My bad.
You do know that.
Yeah, you're finished third place.
You know people in Spain are white, black, and Asian, right? You understand that?
Yeah, I've seen.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm talking about the hue of your bronzeness.
Where were we?
You were talking about Dana White.
No, I was talking about yelling into the microphone. You know what? I have to admit,
brother,
I had a pretty good night of sleep.
Uh-huh.
Good enough that I did my prep early. I ran a few miles this morning. So I'm in a good place. When I do all that, I'm usually 8 a.m. I'm good, and I'm excited. Football season.
Yeah, I am too, because now, there's still 6 weeks of just talk, but now the talk's a little bit more important. Right now, it's and in 2 weeks, you know, when they start actually practicing, it changes. But you know, now when you talk about this upcoming season, it's just funny. Once you get out of the media days, it's just so much more imminent. I think by Monday it'll be 40 days out.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So
40 days, 40 nights. Buddy.
40 days, 40 nights, man. And just waiting on the A&M to go flood them out.
You know. One thing I wish I did more of in Dallas, but I didn't feel like it just didn't. I wish I'd have enjoyed the.
Wish you would have done more curls.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna get into that in a second, but I wish I would have enjoyed not nightlife because that sounds like partying, but fellowship and hanging. Because I felt like it was a grind having all these teams. It was a different feeling. Like in Nashville, for a dude that goes to bed at 9:00, I remember being out a couple times and having the energy. I felt like this with the extra teams and the earlier starts and not for the show, but just press conferences. It just felt like a grind.
Yeah, it did too. I was tired the whole time, and you know nobody cares. I don't blame them.
No, it's fun. It's a fun tired.
One time, we were at dinner, and I was having a hard time staying awake at dinner. Yeah. But it was a lot of work. But I think you're right. You know, it was something about 4 teams every day, because before you had those 2 days when you only had 3 and it went by faster, and so I guess you felt like you got work done a little bit quicker and everything.
My timing was off this year. Just everything about it. The other thing I want to say, speaking of curls, Cole Kublik, a good friend of the show, good friend of the fam, right? He ribbed me a few times because he says every time he goes into the gym, he says for the last 3 years, he sees me on the treadmill. That's all I do, apparently, is the treadmill. Interestingly, yesterday when I saw him, no, it's the day before yesterday, I was doing curls, and he was on the treadmill the entire time. So it's funny how, see, Cole, I think you do too.
I like Cole Kublik.
He's great, man.
You know what I really look forward to during the season? Because he's so knowledgeable, and he really gets in the line play, which is, I like that. He does the quick on Twitter. He puts out his quick
I love those recaps of each team.
I really look forward to those.
Yeah, those are great. And the way he sounds like a guy who not only was elite at the position and understands each position, but he I don't want to say he dumbs it down. He explains it in a way that I can digest, but is also above my head at the same time. I don't know if I'm phrasing that the way I want
sometimes people that actually play get into using their jargon.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I think I know what that means.
But I know what he means when he says it. That's what I'm trying to say.
It speaks to the common man.
Hey, by the way, if you want to call the show, you can do that by calling the Boss Firearms Hotline. You like a Boss?
Yeah.
Let me give you a little info on the Boss. They buy used guns, ammo, and accessories. Go up to bossfirearms.com to start earning money like a boss here on the program. By the way, it's Coffee Talk, presented by TexAgs Coffee. Beat the hell out of mornings by going to texags.com/coffee. Let's give away a coffee. We haven't done it this week.
Let's give one away.
What number?
4.
4.
For the 4 nights that we endured up in Dallas.
That we enjoyed every second, bringing the content. In fact, in a moment, Matthew Dawson's going to tell you the amount of interviews that we did and the amount of work, some of the work details that he got for us. So we'll get to that in a second.
4 for the
4th person.
For the number of feet in Matthew Dawson's height.
Which is so many, by the way. There's a lot of them.
He's 4'5", dude. Come on, give him the 5.
Okay.
Whoa. Hey, flip those numbers. All right.
5'4"?
5'4".
There you go.
I'm sorry, Matthew. You know I admire you. He's like the smartest guy in the room.
That's not hard.
Of course, that's not saying.
That's not hard at all.
But he's the smartest guy in a lot of rooms.
Yes, but in this room, that ain't hard. All right. Before we get to Dawson, let's go behind the glass. I believe our Nick Savage, who didn't. Can I just for a moment give some love? Nick Savage and Luke Evangelos killed it. And in the young kids, for the old people, that means like they did a great job. Okay. They booked every guest possible, right? The only guy we didn't get was Paul Feinbaum, and he's coming on the show soon, all right? He's already and he's coming. They did phenomenal work. The interns did amazing work. Riley Pugh you saw it, the what do you call it?
Show packets.
But this game notes for each team, right? Can you see that?
Yeah.
Look how colorful it is. I love colors.
Very professional.
Right? You got talking points in the back. You've got key numbers. Riley Pugh, Carson Stein. I know there was others that did great work, but just really, really good work.
Yeah, that was really impressive. That was big time, professionally done.
So I hope their parents are listening. Like, you should be proud. Like,
I never actually consulted it, but it was really good work.
They did it all on their own. So great work there to get us ready. Because without their help, we could still do the show, but it wouldn't be as good.
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, fair.
All right, let's say hi to Nick Savage. Nick, hello. Good work.
Howdy, good morning. Thank you. Quick shout out to Cade Bickham as well, who was in this chair back home, keeping the ship sturdy and working through some technical difficulties. Every time he steps foot in this or sits down in this chair, it seems like something is going wrong on him. It's never his fault. No, it's never his fault. It's just something out of his control, but he did a great job. Everyone back at KZ&E helping us out. Again, like you kind of took the words right out of my mouth, David. I was going to give everyone back here props. Everyone did such a great job. And, it's a hard, 4 days, long 4 days, but it's fun. And now, like you said, OB, the talk is a little bit more serious, right? We're getting into the nitty-gritty of the off season.
Nitty gritty. By the way, there are some callers on hold. We're going to get to those in the next segment. 979-693-1150. We'll get to those in a moment. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson, another guy, not an intern. This guy works for us, right?
Yeah.
He is just the whole crew. We're just very, very blessed here. Dawson, good morning, buddy. How are you there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
I'm doing great. It was pretty awesome this week. Y'all had 28 guests on in 4 days, MSC Media Days. That's pretty good. That was just on air too.
Yeah,
off
like
air.
7 a day.
Okay, so 28 on the show.
On the show.
And then we did some after the show.
Yep, and then y'all had some interviews that y'all posted on TexAgs as well. So, like, y'all are putting up numbers at SEC Media Days, which is awesome. And the folks in the back, too, with us while we were back here, they were awesome. The interns really were. I think Kay Naegeli kind of scared them straight. So
Kay Naegeli?
that was whatever she said to them, but, they were dialed in. So that was awesome.
This might have been our most jacked weekend at SEC Media Days. We have Pate every year. He's obviously jacked. J.D. Piquel, jacked. Who else? Sam Acho, jacked. Like we got
Ross Dellinger.
Ross Dellinger, more jacked than I knew.
Yeah.
Like in person, like that dude could fight us all. Huh? You don't care? I could tell. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, I did want to talk about. I mean, not football related, but Chris Cortez officially signed with the Angels for $1.5 million.
Love that dude.
Love that dude. Good for him. Picked in the second round, which is fantastic.
Of course, in California, he gets to keep about 400,000 of that.
Yeah,
very true. Very true. Yeah, I do want to talk about, David, though. You were talking about media members coming on and being like, oh, 8-4 is a good season. And I think there's like a disconnect between, the national media and folks locally and also even Vegas, right? Like Vegas has Texas A&M at 8.5 wins. That's their over and win total, juiced to the over. So the most expected outcome, statisticians are saying it's 9-3. Like that's the most expected outcome. And in terms of SEC championship game winner odds, Texas A&M is ahead on the odds against Tennessee, Missouri, Oklahoma, right? There's some teams that, Vegas is saying this Texas A&M team is potentially going to be very good and win a lot of football games. And we had Goins on yesterday, and Goins was saying that Auburn, 8-4 is, kind of expected, in that area, whatever. Yep. Their over and win total is just 7.5, juiced heavily to the under. So look, I think there's a disconnect here with the.
Well,
Texas
I mean, there usually is, and sometimes they're right. Like Connor O'Gara, my guy, has been right a couple years in a row about Texas A&M. Unfortunately, sometimes, but I can give you a counter, and we don't need to do it right now because we need to hit a break. But I can give you a counter for everything. Like if there's a line, they win. Yeah, the game's over. If A&M can block, they're winning 9 out of 10 games. I'm that confident. Protect Connor, we win.
If they could block, if they could have picked up 3rd and 4th and short, they would have won 9 or 10 games last year. And
100%. To me, it's that simple. And I hate to put it all on the offensive line. I think some of it schematically. I think some of it was the lack of development. There's a lot of reasons, right? Sometimes quarterbacks held the ball too long. I understand all that. But if we get better protection, and that's through an offensive system, through the offensive line, through a quarterback making better decisions, you get more protection, you're winning. Because the defense is going to be salty.
Should be really strong defense. Should be.
The only questions we have on defense, I understand the questions on the defensive backfield, but if you hear Billy talk about it, I think the folks across the street are pretty excited about the direction. I understand a question about linebacker because Edgerrin Cooper moves on. It's hard to get better when you lose a guy of that caliber. And the defensive line, they lost Walter Nolan. They added Nick Scorton. I think we good.
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the loss of McKinley Jackson than Walter Nolan.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break. We got a couple callers on the other side, so we'll get to that. Right now, if your organization or your business is looking for an opportunity to engage with Aggies, then you need to check out the Association of Former Students that bring Aggies of all ages together during awesome events such as Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo Gathering. They all welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities available to get your brand in front of all those attendees. They offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand, which include title sponsorship, naming, on-site presence, activation, recognition, and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information or ways to be involved with the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Why are you guys talking about Texas like that, Brian Broadcasting? Hey, little sister? I mean, come on. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I want to welcome a new member to the Brian Broadcasting team. Eric joined us during SEC Media Days. He's working there with Emily at the Brian Broadcasting. He's doing a great job back there. Eric, welcome to the team. Appreciate you. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can text us. We'll get to those here momentarily. Or you can call us on the Boss Firearms hotline, 979-693-1150. Steve has been waiting patiently. Let's talk a little about, you want to talk Texas, Steve? Good morning, buddy.
Hey, guys. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Well, thank you.
I figured I'd call in with my raspy voice this morning and make Olin feel a little better.
Thank you. Yeah, my pie's on.
Comment. Nick Saban really took a slap at TU when he commented on who's going to run the conference. And I thought that was interesting. But I thought TU was at their best in terms of arrogance. And I know what was said on air, but I was wondering what people were saying behind the scenes when y'all talked to them about Texas arrogance.
I heard some people actually. A guy who's from Auburn was saying to me, and he said basically what we talked about earlier. He said, "You got all these guys that just want." I can't say it on the radio the way he said it.
Yeah.
He said, "You have all these guys from Texas wanting everybody to all these coaches to tell them how good they are. It's like a Texas, I'll say." Quilting bee, which was not what he said, but I'm trying to clean it up. But I loved what Saban said about it. You know, he's like, I think there was already some Texas fatigue.
Yeah.
And I think you saw it from Saban. I think you saw it from Kirby Smart.
Yeah. Well, it's classic narcissist. You know, they want everybody to tell them how good they are.
Yes. So. And you know what? They should be really good this year. But the difference is, and you know, we've talked about this, it's going to be harder.
Yeah.
Now you know.
I'm sorry, that schedule is stupid easy.
Well, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not. It's the second, based on last year's records, the conference schedule is the second easiest one in the SEC. The easiest being Missouri. But I would have won money betting before they announced the schedule. So I guarantee you that Texas is going to get Vanderbilt.
Let me ask you this, and you can be a part of this conversation, Steve. If A&M had that schedule, would you predict 9-3, 10-2?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer. But you know, I got to run a gauntlet. It's going to be a tougher gauntlet than what they had in the Big 12, and we're just going to see how that holds up.
Hey,
but,
I appreciate. Sorry about that.
Here, when you looked at that bowl game with Washington was playing with them in the second half.
Yeah,
they were just toying around.
Well, I don't know.
I think they.
I don't know. I thought Texas could have won that game if Sarkisian would have ran the football. But you know, he's going to throw it no matter what. And I thought he was doing Washington a favor. But here's the deal: what I always say. I've said this before, Steve. Look. Even in a weaker schedule of the SEC, the fact of the matter is last year when they had those two high draft choices at tackle and at wide receiver, you needed a break from the officials to beat UH.
Yep.
And you got fortunate against Kansas State and TCU and Wyoming and somebody else. And if you're not ready to play at a high level every week in the SEC, the chances of surviving that week are diminished significantly.
Yeah.
Because the bad teams in the SEC will still beat you if you're not ready to play.
Steve, thank you very much, buddy. Appreciate your call.
You guys have a great day. Love the show this week.
Thank you so much,
Love
sir.
the voice, Steve.
Yeah, no, I love you. Thank you very much, Steve. Let me just ask this question, and I'm sure if you're listening in any other city other than Gainesville or College Station, you'll be like, this is the stupidest question ever. But I'm just going to ask. Today, what is a harder road game? Going to Ann Arbor or going to Gainesville? Today.
Yeah, I'm going to say going to Ann Arbor.
I don't know.
Obviously, I don't know either, but I still think even with all the guys that Michigan lost, let me ask you, if Michigan and Florida were playing on a neutral site, who would you pick?
I usually pick the SEC.
Usually I do too.
Mm-hmm.
So who would you pick?
I mean,
you'd take Florida?
I'm just naive. I just don't know anything about this new version of Michigan.
I don't either.
It's like, and I asked this question, hey, Chad, will you stay on hold for us, please? We'll get you on the other side because we're way late, but I promise to get to you. Let me make this comment. I think people are evaluating Texas with Jimbo goggles this year, okay? Like, they're not that they've forgotten the Jimbo's gone, but like they're using that same kind of thing. Well, it's A&M and this is what happened the last few years. And I think people are thinking about Michigan through Harbaugh goggles. We don't know. Blake Corum a lot of these dudes are gone, right? Like, so J.J. McCarthy, gone. So we don't know who this Michigan is. Does not mean they haven't recruited at a high level. So has Florida, by the way.
Yeah, but they were 5-7.
They were in the SEC.
Yeah, but they lost to Utah.
They did. Help me out here, Obi.
I'm just saying the reason how I'm
know.
ignorant too. I'm just based on the programs. I would take Michigan over Florida, and therefore I would think
I would take Michigan over Florida. Yes, but since I don't know the roster and there's so many holes, and I do think Florida is bringing back some dudes.
They lost dudes too.
They did. And the running back, this is going to be a hard one to overcome.
Yeah. The defensive end from Maine or Texas that transferred to Ole Miss. Prince.
Yeah. And they lost Sean Spencer. He's our guy now.
Yeah.
He's our guy.
Coach Chaos.
I'm just asking the question out loud when it's I understand why people would say Michigan's a much harder. I get it. I just don't know anything about Michigan. I'm sorry. I am naive. I'm ignorant. I don't know. All right. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with Chad from Odessa on the other side. 979-693-1150. We're national, even though that's statewide, but we're national. We're global.
The nation of Texas.
Remember that one time Hugh called the show or texted the show?
Well, we hear from
Mr. Jazz.
We hear from El Salvador. We've heard from Guatemala. We've heard from Qatar. I think it's
Qatar.
Yeah, we've heard from all. You're right, all over the globe.
As we're about to hit a break, can I give some love to Fargo's? I'm sorry, we haven't been here together to talk about them, but they were so good to us. We were watching one of the clips. You were at dinner with us. We were watching one of the clips of Fargo's where I may have made a comment. That, People will remember that one.
Yeah.
I won't reset it, but
probably best tonight.
Love those folks at Fargo's. We'll miss you guys. All right, let's do this. Let's talk about Rollo Insurance, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for, doing the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. They're right here in College Station, right? Their headquarters is on Highway 6 here in College Station. But they're all over the place. I mean, they got 53 offices in Texas. They've got offices all around the globe. But let me tell you about some of the areas that are listening to this show. In Houston, they got an office. They got North Texas, DFW area. They got East Texas in the Tyler area. You got Central Texas, Austin and San Antonio. West Texas, everything west of I-35, including the Panhandle. They can take care of homeowners, farmers, ranchers, hobby farmers, business owners. And I love their thought process and their slogan, God, family, and country. They will take great care of you. You need to reach out to the good people there at Rollo Insurance. The phone number is 888-44-ROLLO. 888-44-ROLLO. Go to rolloinsurance.com. Again, that headquarters is on Highway 6 in College Station. rolloinsurance.com.
This is The Zone.
From WTAW, I'm Chelsea Reber with a news update on The Zone.
You know, of course, you're from Temple, just down the road from Austin. I mean, how much excitement is there for you to get to play that game again?
It's personal. That's all I have to say. It's personal.
What kind of relationship do you have with some guys on the team at Texas?
I don't talk to anybody from Texas because it's that personal to me.
Hey, Torian, what about your...
Love that bite, dude.
Reminds me of Lance Teichelman and Chris Dowson.
So good. Hey, it's TexAgs Radio. We're an intimate audience here. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Let's go back to the Boss Firearms Hotline. Chad in Odessa has been holding forever. 22 minutes. Chad, my apologies. Welcome to TexAgs. Oh, no.
Did we lose Chad?
Chad, you waited so long for this? Chad, are you there?
He was hanging on the phone so long.
Chad.
He was a hanging Chad.
Chad. Chadinsky.
Yeah, I guess he had to go to work.
Chad, maybe it's because you're online too. You there? All right. Call back. We'll get you on, all right?
Yeah, I feel bad about that.
Oh, man. Brad and Brenham, welcome to TexAgs Radio. What's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. Hey, guys. Good morning. Hey, I wanted to thank y'all for an entertaining week at Media Week. I know it's kind of become the coaches seem, the coach speak is boring, but I enjoy Media Week because you guys interview each other. The different, like SEC Mike and Cousin Shane and Orange Bloods. I watched Billy on a podcast with Jeff yesterday on Orange Bloods, and they're giving each other the business. That's what makes it entertaining is the healthy respect y'all have for one another, but still be able to poke the bear with each other. I think the media days are more about, for the consumer, for us, entertaining that y'all go between each other like that, not the coaches. The coaches usually get up and do the coach speak thing and stuff like that. Probably the only one that doesn't is Sam Pittman. I heard him on SEC Mike. He gave a story about how Garth Brooks had to give him $300,000 to fix their field up after a concert, and he looked at his partner and said, "I don't think we ever saw it $300,000. All we did was rewater the grass." Hopefully y'all can do more of that now that Texas is in the conference to be on each other's show. But anyhow, that's what's entertaining to us, and I appreciate you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. You have a great day, buddy. You have a great day. So much. Here's my thing about that. It is cool. So I thought this. There's a lot of people that look. It's not an act. There's some people I don't want to like because I see their personality on Twitter, and I think I'm automatically going to hate this dude. And then they come on the show, and they're actually pretty nice. And we're all friends. Like, for the most part, everybody's a good dude, right? Like, we just care about our team. So it's nice to be able to break bread, if you will, with some of these folks and eat lunch with them at the facility. And that's cool. And especially some of the national guys that they become, I don't know if friends the right word, but like you become cool with them. Like hey, what's up, David? Hey, what's up, Pablo? Like me and Escobar, we're tight. So.
Yeah. I spent a lot of times talking to my good friends from Arkansas.
Yep.
Bob Holt and Tom Murphy. It's a great opportunity to meet guys and you make contacts, because when I'm doing my job, a lot of times I'm calling other reporters and say, hey, can you tell me what's going on here and things like that. So it's a great opportunity to make.
One of the best things for what we do for a job, right, is that exact thing you're talking about. And by the way, Chad, you can call back. Line 1 is open. I know we had some issues with line 2. But, like, the inside guys, sometimes we're too inside, right? But the inside guys know the real blind spots for teams, right? So when you call an insider from Arkansas or you call an insider from Florida, they can tell you, yeah, man, they're really worried about this position, but they're super high on this position, and this is the why behind it, and this assistant coach is doing this, and this, and it helps tell that story. So, like, before a game week, I know you do it, I do it, I call counterparts from other markets just to give me, like, what, and I try to get more than one opinion on it because then it helps tell the real story.
Absolutely. I don't want to. Sometimes you can call and you say, well, this guy's not playing, or, hey, this guy's really good. No, he hadn't been playing well. Why is that? And you get, we like to share information.
Yep. I want to say one last thing. Did you see Quinn Ewers talk about the A&M Texas rivalry?
Yeah, I heard about it. He was saying that his dad told him it was bigger than the Oklahoma rivalry.
Yeah. I think the Oklahoma-Texas rivalry, as huge as it is, and it is, I'm not taking anything away from it, became bigger because A&M and Texas stopped playing each other.
Well, yeah. I mean, if they're not playing, I think that for most of the time, I covered Texas and I lived in Austin for a long time, and I grew up a Texas fan before I grew up. The Oklahoma rivalry was bigger. You know when A&M was bigger? It was when they started beating Texas
in the 80s.
And then it annoyed them even more because, they got this idea that they're just superior to A&M in every way, and so when they started losing, and then A&M, kind of dropped the ball on facilities and things like that, and Texas got a hold of them, got ahead of them, and started winning again, and so then their focus was on Oklahoma because more often Oklahoma was a national championship contender than A&M has been.
Yep.
And that's why it was a bigger game.
Yeah. Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with some more. 979-693-1150. Milliken Reserve time. Farm-to-table community in College Station. Homes, trails, farms, wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They have 2,600 acres of open space. They've got 30 miles of trails. They got beautiful homes out there, a place that you can just go hang out and enjoy nature, enjoy being with your family, enjoy connecting with each other, throwing the ball, climbing trees, fishing, hiking, you name it. You can go biking out there. You can go canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails are out there, evening yoga. You can probably do it in the morning too if you want. It doesn't have to be just in the evening. It is a great place to go and hang out. And as I mentioned, they provide a natural setting for people to come and connect together. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website again, millikenreserve.com. Go check it out and be a part of that community, millikenreserve.com.
Shamar, Coach Elko talked about how this has been a pretty quiet offseason. How do you think this offseason compares to maybe those that you've experienced in years past under Coach Fisher?
Man, it's just a lot of unnecessary talking when you can be working. So just that right there pretty much is just putting your head down, working, grinding, and going 100% every day, getting better.
Unnecessary talking when you can be working. I love that soundbite.
That says so much.
TexAgs Radio, we're going to talk here. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Bank on it time. I don't even know what we can bank on. Authentic relationship-based banking built for real life. Go see Joel Jackson and the team. Learn more at VeraBank.com. I'm banking on that, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, just whatever you want to say. Becomes a first-round pick, dominates the SEC. I'm banking on it. And I know it's not real journalism to bank on somebody because of how they sound at a press conference, but I'm basing this on his trajectory before the press conference and then seeing what he looks like now.
Yes, I'm banking on that whole defensive line, man, and
what are they going to do?
They're going to eat, man.
Yeah.
They're going to eat. Feast.
Yeah.
And I know I'm kind of, when I talk about this, I'm kind of venturing into your domain here, but I'm really, really excited to see the effects of the Tommy Moffitt effect on this team.
Yeah, I agree. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Poor Chad, who was on hold for an hour, couldn't get on the show, so he texted his commentary. Mr. Dawson, please.
He said, "Gotta love that soundbite from Torian York. The dude is dialed in and laser focused. Won't even talk to folks from TU because it's that personal." He said, "Question from you guys. Want to get your thoughts on the pros and cons of having an offensive versus defensive-minded head coach." And then he also continued saying, "A Kentucky insider that interviewed with Dave yesterday had noted with the similarities between defensive backgrounds of Mark Stoops and Mike Elko. I thought that Saban's defensive background and the incredible success that he had seems like you can be successful in the SEC without having an offensive background."
Well,
thanks, Chad.
What did Nick Saban do? He hired offensive coordinators in the latter half of his time at Alabama that were explosive offensive minds, right? And young up-and-coming minds, and Lane Kiffin and Sark and your good friend Bill O'Brien. And I think that's what Elko has done by hiring Colin Klein.
I like everything that Elko's done. I'm glad he's the head coach because I just always thought I was so impressed with what he did here. It doesn't bother me necessarily, or it doesn't make a difference to me if you're from the offense or defensive side of the ball. R.C. Slocum was an outstanding coach here. He's a defensive coach, Nick Saban, defensive coach. But, Steve Spurrier was an offensive coach. Yep. Lane Kiffin's an offensive coach. So it's just about the coach and their ability to motivate, innovate, reach their players, all those things. So I like Mike Elko, not because he's a defensive coach, but just because I think he's going to be a good football coach.
Yeah, I did too. It's just have the right guy. I've been saying it all week, and I'm sorry, broken record. If you have the right guy coach and you have the right guy quarterback, and by the way, I think we have both, and you have the right culture, you're going to win a lot of games.
And you have to like what we hear about the guys talking about the culture. Did you hear them talk about how they got put into teams, if you showed up late for a meeting or you didn't do something, you lost points, and at the end of the week, the team that lost points had to have punishment workouts.
Look, I think we can all take a page from Mike Elko. All businesses that are listening right now, OB, he has the different position groups eating with each other. We should be eating with Texas Filmworks and maybe the graphics team and, whatever, all the other departments, the accounting team, the HR. We should be doing that to continue to develop the rapport.
Hell, I can't even get lunch with the guys over here. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
We had lunch together. SEC paid for it, but we had lunch together.
Yeah, that's when I can.
Have a great weekend, buddy. It was fun to hang out this week.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. All right. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, the party's going to get boring. Ryan Brauninger, Recruiting Country. He made fun of us looking like lawyers you don't want to. You didn't see it. Whatever, Bonnie. You always got to make it about you. Back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for Recruiting Country, which we didn't do on Wednesday. Presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area. You got the original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest online, caprockhealthsystem.com. Bronathan.
Have you been cryogenically frozen for the last 30 years?
What do you mean?
Well, do you remember the first Austin Powers movie?
Of course.
Okay, where he was cryogenically frozen, they unfreeze him, and then when he comes out and he's trying to get reacclimated to the world, he has a difficult time controlling the volume of his voice.
Did you notice earlier
in the first hour, like you were screaming, and then it would go real soft, and it was like
Dana White. It was yesterday. Yeah, that's who I was.
No, it was today. It was this morning in the 8 o'clock hour.
No, I know. Did you watch Dana yesterday or see any clips? No, Dana spoke at the convention. He was yelling everything. I felt like Dana today.
Yeah, the political side of what's going on right now is like we're living in a simulation. Like somebody has scripted all this.
You listen to Joe Rogan a lot?
Did he say that?
Yeah,
no. But it has to be like Hulk Hogan last night. I mean, what a crazy time we're living in. Also, the must-listen radio is going to happen in the 10 o'clock hour.
Is Billy going to come out guns blazing?
No, but you have ammunition.
What do I have ammunition about?
We're going to talk about it on air so we can preview what you can get at. Like
you tell me off the break. Yeah.
Okay, but you don't let him come in here and, the whole thing.
Yeah.
Don't let him come in here and just bully you. You have counterpunches here.
See, what Billy loves to do, and I watch it, is he likes to get people on his side when they make fun of me, right? Like, this guy,
Well, what he'll do is he'll preemptively do it. So, like, if he's going to make fun of me, he'll text Zane about it, right?
Right.
Or if he's going to make fun of Zane, he'll text me about it beforehand to try to, like, grow his party in the area to how he's going to make fun of you. Like he wants a gang, you know, like he's like at the T-Birds or whatever in the Grease. He wants his gang to be ready.
Yep. Well, I am no fun, Nuño. I recognize it. And if I say it out loud first, you can't come get me.
It's like Eminem on 8 Mile.
Yes.
You know, like the final battle. If you just say everything that you are, then he's left with no ammunition.
You can't come back at it. But
you do have it. There's video evidence of him doing things that are just bizarre, crazy.
Well, by the way, I haven't heard the new Eminem album, but I heard it's horrendous. Anyway.
How? His new song's awesome.
Is it?
Which
one? The Houdini one?
Yeah.
That's all right.
You didn't like it? I thought it was pretty funny.
It's okay. It's okay. What's going on with you, buddy?
Not much. There's a little bit, like things are calming down. And I say that we're in a dead period for recruiting right now. Baseball, there's like real light at the end of the tunnel so that we know what the roster is going to look like starting in the fall, but football recruiting will amp back up starting next weekend, really in full with the pool party.
Hey, by the way, Bryan Broadcasting just got interrupted by emergency alert. They want what is it? Nick, you want to help me out with this? What am I reading here?
Yeah, just say, hey, we're back from TexAgs Radio, or we're back from break here on TexAgs Radio.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we're back on TexAgs Radio. Sorry, there was an emergency break on Bryan Broadcasting, but we're back. So
what happened?
Emergency break.
They just need that for editing
danger,
purposes.
Nick?
No.
Microsoft went down. Who knows?
Y'all are fine.
Across the country?
You didn't know about Microsoft around the world? It went down.
Oh, did it really?
For reals. That's not what happened here, but yeah, for real. It went down like airlines, companies, they all got the blue screen of death this morning. Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine like you're planning a summer vacation. You're all excited about it.
Let's go, honey. It's going to be fun.
You get to the airport and blue screen of death.
The whole thing.
Driving right back home. Brutal.
All right, so you left it at pool party. We got a lot of things to get into. You want to start off with, let's see, Kelshawn Johnson, which was, I think, Tuesday?
Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think it was Tuesday because we were going to talk about it Wednesday.
That's right. Tuesday evening. Yeah. It's one we felt good about for a while. Kelshawn's a kid that this coaching staff had put a high priority on from the time that they got to College Station. And when they were evaluating the receiver targets in state, that pool of players has kind of fluctuated in terms of priority targets. But one thing that hasn't was, Kelshawn Johnson standing for Mike Elko and Holman Wiggins. And this was a kid that it just kind of felt A&M's like an A&M kid for a while.
Yep.
Especially once they put the pedal to the metal over the course of the spring in terms of his recruitment. Texas did all they could late to try to wedge their way in. And I don't know how it's being covered on their side, but I got it on pretty good authority that they went in and tried to undo A&M's lead here pretty late. And it was, the craziest part about it was the Hurricane gave Texas more time because he was going to announce like last Monday, and then obviously Hurricane Beryl hit, and like they just kept having to push it back because that Galveston County, a lot of it was without power still. So he was having his announcement at the school, and they just kept having to try to push it back until they got everything up and running down there. But that was kind of a weird time, and talking to some people there, I was like, man, is this going to affect A&M standing? Like, we don't think so, but you just never know. Like, Texas is continuing to push on this thing. But, he stuck by his guns, and we had felt really good about A&M really coming into the month of July for Kelshawn, and he kind of never wavered. Even though Texas did make that push, I'd not received any indication that he was never not going to pick A&M.
What kind of player is he when you break down the skill set, the speed, all that?
Well, the comp that everybody's made, and I've made plenty of times, was Aeneas because he's just so versatile. But they're built differently. Aeneas was a little shorter and stockier, lower center of gravity. We've got if you're watching with us on YouTube, the highlights are playing right now. Watch this play. He's gonna catch this ball near the sideline, and then tell me this isn't Aeneas. There's 4 guys, 5 guys around him, and he just makes a couple of change of direction, and then the burst to get out of there. And that's where he really shows that's the comparison to Aeneas right there, is when he's got the ball in his hands in open field and his ability to stop and start and change direction. Now, where they're different is the long speed. Like, it's way more giddy up than Aeneas had.
But he's shifty like him.
He's shifty, but they're not exactly built the same. Again, like, Kelshawn's a little longer limbed, and he's a longer strider, but, man, it is real straight line speed. But that was the closest comp I had to Aeneas because he can impact the game from the slot, outside receiver. I think it would be a good option to return kicks. So he can do so many things. He's been on a really talented team there at Hitchcock. But, yeah, it's funny, Jason and I were talking about the receivers in this class, and I thought it was something I wrote down that I wanted to talk to you about so we can kind of get into it.
Well, I mean, if you talk about this year's team, that is a question mark, right? Wide receiver is a question mark.
Yeah.
And they're doing great when it's come to adding some talent.
Well, they've got to close, right? Like I like that Coach Elko talked about the incoming transfers. Obviously, Cyrus Allen, we anticipated playing a lot, but, the Bostic kid out of Iowa was almost a necessary get with Jabri Barber being out for an extended period of time with that foot injury. But in terms of the class of 2025 in the state of Texas, it's going to be interesting to see how this thing rounds out. Are there some guys that – because right now I don't think A&M's in an advantageous position for Khalid Lockett or Michael Terry. But I do think they're making up ground with Jerome Miles out of Utah, who is a high 4-star, 5-star player at a Corner Canyon, one of the most premier programs in Utah. And A&M's actually done a really nice job with him, and there's a chance he shows up next week for the pool party. But they've only got 2 receivers committed, in Tristan Norman and now Kelshawn. They're going to have to do something. Now, does that mean they circle back on some guys that they maybe had slowed down on, that have offers? Do they wait and evaluate the state for new offers? It's going to be interesting to see early in the fall kind of where this position goes. But Jason and I were talking about Holman Wiggins he's kind of got a style.
Yeah.
Like, he's typically not had at Bama these big, giant, massive dudes that play outside receiver. He gets kind of you look at Devontae Smith and you look at Henry Ruggs and you look at Jalen Waddle, like, they're similar in statures, right? Like, they're not this big 6'6", 230-pound, 220-pound outside receiver. He likes to get guys that can do a lot of different things, and where you're not just a slot receiver. You're a receiver, and you can play anywhere. And right now it seems like those are kind of the body styles that he has taken so far. But they're going to have to land some more. Like, there's no question. They've got to have – that's the position where I think they're still more up in the air than any other position left in this 2025 class, is what happens at receiver, and where do they go if Lockett and Terry go somewhere else.
Trey McNutt, I keep reading good things, but your
Oregon.
facial expression, it's going to be Oregon.
I think so.
But are we going to still be in the mix?
Yeah, for sure. And it's not just him. Like, I think Lamont Rogers, he committed to Missouri. It wouldn't surprise me if Lamont Rogers is back on campus multiple times between now and December. There are going to be, just like every recruiting cycle, if Khalid Lockett and Michael Terry go elsewhere, if Trey McNutt and Jonah Williams go elsewhere, commit elsewhere before the season, there'll be a lot of hand-wringing and wailing and gnashing of teeth.
Yeah.
And it happens every time, even though the further and further we get into this era of NIL and transfer portal and the whole thing, we know that roster building is now a year-round exercise that doesn't stop in December with your high school class.
Yep.
What happens if you don't sign Khalid Lockett or Michael Terry, but after this football season, there are some guys maybe from the class of 2024 or 2023 in the state of Texas that were highly recruited kids that want to transfer and they want to come back to A&M. So, it's mitigated by all that. There's just so much. It's crazy what recruiting has turned into. And Jason and I were talking about this. Is it's not just high school recruiting now. Our job has morphed into covering the talent coming into the program and obviously the talent going out, but that's kind of more of a national. Everybody's on the transfer portal who's going in, but it's not just high school recruiting.
Right.
It is portal recruiting. It is the fluctuations of rosters across the region and across the country. And one of the busier times we had in this calendar year was that early January run that Elko went on out of the transfer portal. Yep. And even some of those guys, Dorian Hinton, Derek Graham, those two, they're not even here anymore. They were here. Who was the linebacker from Youngstown? Alex Howard.
Alex Howard, yeah.
Yeah, so all those guys that were on campus for a matter of 3 months, 4 months, and they're gone. But if you go back and read their commitment articles or whatever on the site, people are getting all hyped up about them, and then they're gone in 4 months. The timeline for these things being super important has really dwindled.
Yeah.
Whereas 6-7 years ago, if you missed on Jonah Williams and Trey McNutt at safety, you're going, where are we going to go to replace players like that? It may have to be a whole nother 12 months for the next recruiting cycle. Now, if you miss on them in December, you may be 30 days away from adding somebody, or 30 days or less, in that portal window, but over the Christmas break, maybe 30 days or less from adding somebody that can replace them.
100%.
So it's just, I still don't understand that people's just willingness and want to break down and melt down over the slightest thing. I hope A&M gets Jonah Williams, and I hope they get Trey McNutt back on campus. I'd love to see them sign a top 5 class. It's still very important. Recruiting is still the lifeblood of your program. But if you miss on 2 or 3 or 4 of your guys, who cares? It's all about being able to get that spot filled by somebody. It doesn't have to be a high school kid. I hate that that's what recruiting's become. But that's the era that we're living in right now. It's never been harder for a high school player to be recruited right now. It really hasn't. Football's a little bit different because the scholarship allocations is so much greater. But in the non-revenue sports, even basketball, am I going to go mortgage the future of one of my positions on an 18-year-old when I can wait a few more months and go get a 19, 20, 21-year-old? I've got a way better background on what he is as a player and a human being. And I kind of have a better feel for what I'm bringing into the program. It's changed a lot over the course of a lot of sports. But, again, we've just had some people that are freaking out about Elko's recruiting. He's got a top 7 or 8 class right now. Are you kidding?
After a program going 12-12 the last couple of years.
Yeah, and people – I just think people made this decision on not much basis that he was going to struggle in recruiting. So when he doesn't land every 5-star on the board, that's an indicator. Again, they would rather be right about their opinion than swallow their pride and say, you know what, Elko really can recruit. These people just dig in on these preformed opinions, and I don't know where that one was. I don't know. It's like people spoke in such definitive terms whenever he was hired, man, he's really going to struggle to recruit. You don't know that. You have no idea whether that was going to be true or not. But because you had this opinion and you dug in on it, and now he's proven you wrong, you're now looking for ways to validate your preset opinion, then going, hey, I'm going to eat some crow on this. I was wrong. This guy can really recruit.
All right, let's some of the other top targets that are out there. Let's talk a little bit about where they stand.
Well, I mentioned Jonah Williams, Trey McNutt. Jonah's
been pretty active on social recently.
Well, Jonah has been he's turned into a real baseball prospect. I'm not talking about fringe, good athlete, fringe baseball player that
like a real one.
No, he's up to 94 on the mound. His exit velocities, I think he's out playing in Atlanta this week, and he's done some good things. And so whether it be college baseball or professional baseball that could factor in.
He's the one who said, I can't be bought, right? Is he the one?
Yeah. And the thing right now, if you made me pick a top 3 for Jonah, it would be Oregon, Texas A&M, and LSU.
Okay.
And I think A&M and LSU obviously provide him a much greater opportunity on the baseball side. Although Oregon's been a decent program, but they're just not on the level of A&M and LSU on that side of it. But I don't know how much the baseball side is really going to factor in his decision. He's a football player first, without question. But it is interesting kind of how his profile has blown up on the baseball side. Outside of those two, you're looking at Cleek Lockett, Michael Terry at receiver. Jason posted some notes on them this morning. We're kind of in lockstep there. Like, we just think A&M's playing from behind going into here to late July. And, DJ Sanders is a kid that from Belleville. If you had asked me in February or March, I would have thought he would have been committed somewhere already. He hasn't. I'm not saying it's a good or bad thing. It's just taken a little bit longer than I anticipated for such a low-key kid. I think if he shows up next week to the pool party, it's a pretty good indicator of where he's at. Again, you're just not going to get a whole lot out of DJ because he's so quiet. Outside of that, so we talked about Terry Lockett. Oh, Jerome Miles, like I mentioned him, receiver out of Corner Canyon, Utah. A&M's, it's kind of one of those names that came out of nowhere. If you remember that 2022 class, how much were we talking about Evan Stewart at this point in the cycle?
We weren't.
Not at all. How much were they talking about Walter Nolan at this point? Shamar Stewart? None.
Walter Nolan was after the pool party a little bit, and then the Alabama game or Auburn game.
And then Shamar Stewart was kind of the same timeline. Like, we didn't really talk much about any of those guys. So there may be some more really intriguing names pop up in College Station next week for that pool party. But Jerome Miles kind of has that feel like we weren't talking about him 2 weeks ago, and now all of a sudden, like, we're starting to hear there's some momentum building there. So, A&M's got a majority of their class done already. They can be pretty picky with the remaining spots. I think they would still like to add a premier offensive tackle without question. Obviously, receiver is still a question mark. Do they want to add one more linebacker? I doubt it. What do they want to do at safety? There's still some questions there at safety. So there are still a few holes for them to fill. But just like Mike Elko did when he was the head coach at Duke, a lot of the work, a lot of the hay is in the barn here toward the end of the summer, and so they can go into fall camp and really go, into the Friday night lights part of their schedule with, hey, let's be really particular about what we're scouting and then what we're bringing in on campus on Saturdays and where we're spending our time on Friday night. Let's be really intentional about that because we're not spread so thin because we've got a lot of our class locked up.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back more with Recruiting Country. We'll actually start switching a little bit to baseball unless there's some other talking points you want to hit, Bronny. Right now, Heritage Films time. I'm going to see Chance later on today. My dear friend Ken Hoffman passed away last week. He was my co-host, and Chance put us together to do a show together. Chance is my old boss and a dear friend that started Heritage Films years back as a way to tell stories, right? A way to make sure that your family's story, family name is preserved for the next generation and the generation after that. We did a great story on my dad. We've done a year flicks with my daughter, and they're all great things. So if you have a family get-together that you want to have an eye in the sky, if you want to just tell your dad's story, your grandfather's story, your family ranch's story, your family business story, have Chance McClain and his team at Heritage Films tell that story. I know many of you have reached out to me after doing it and love it. And we appreciate that you've reached out. You can also do the Year Flicks, which is what I was talking about that we did with my daughter Annalise. It's a 20-minute Q&A benchmark video, and those are really popping right now, especially for like kids about to start school at A&M. Tell their story in a 20-minute kind of a fun form, and then follow it up when they get their Aggie ring, then follow it up when they graduate, and follow it up when they find the love of their life and they get married. A cool thing to do. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website, YourHeritageFilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. 20,000 steps. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Recruiting Country is continuing, brought to you by Caprock Health System. But we're actually switching it a little bit to some baseball talk, because I know you've been updating the threads, but there's a lot of moving parts, guys going to play professionally, guys coming in, other potential guys being added. So where do you want to start when it comes to baseball?
Well, I think we have to start with just tipping our hat to what – actually, yeah, first let's tip our hat to Mike Early and the job that he and his staff have done. This was the most tumultuous – it was the greatest but also the most tumultuous 2 to 3 weeks in Texas A&M baseball history when you consider that they were a run away, 2 runs away from winning the national championship. To go from that high to what happened in the 48 hours after that to – the uncertainty whenever they were going through what was essentially a 5-day coaching transition, and the uncertainty that brought with the transfer portal and the current roster. If you are going to count every kid on the A&M roster that went into the transfer portal that Mike Early got back, this will be the greatest transfer portal class in the history of sports. Think about it. You got Jace Lavalette back. You got Gavin Grahovic back. You got Caden Sorrell back. You got Gavin Cash, who was one of the top guys in the portal. You got Wyatt Hensler, who was one of the top guys in the portal. You got Schott back, assuming his waiver gets cleared. I can't believe the NCAA has I say I can't believe. That should have been the expectation going in, that this is going to drag out longer than it should. Everybody I talk to is confident that it will get granted. But imagine you're Hayden Schott and you're trying to figure out life, and you think you're coming back here, but there's still this outside kind of doubt in your mind that what happens if this doesn't get cleared, and what do I do now? So with all that and all the additions that he made out of the portal from other schools, and then what he retained and got back to A&M, and most recently getting Isaac Morton back is a pretty big deal. I mean, he started to figure some things out, or it looks like he may have, in terms of commanding the strike zone in the Cape Cod League. And if that kid can throw the ball over the plate, there's not going to be a right-hander on the roster that's got that kind of stuff. You talk about the closest thing to Chris Cortez to replace him is Isaac Morton. And it's just about kind of getting him tunneled in and throwing more strikes. But, man, you have to commend the job that Mike Early did and has done. And, I put out a tweet, and I don't think he's done yet. I think that we're getting closer to understanding what the 2024-2025 roster will look like. We're not there yet, but there's still a big piece or two out there.
So a lot of the guys who were drafted, or all of them, you don't expect to see them.
Like
Evan Aschenbeck, we were hoping that he
could. So I don't know that all of them have signed anything yet, but they're obviously working. Like Chris Cortez has signed his deal. I think Braden has signed his deal. So all these guys that haven't, there's not been a public announcement about them signing, they're working through it, So yeah,
you don't expect Prager back or Aschenbeck back.
No, not yet. And so I want to tip my hat to Early and the staff, but also our staff here, right? And I'm not talking about myself. I think one thing that we should do more often is publicly praise the job that people behind the scenes are doing with us. Richard's been fantastic, and obviously his question kicked off this whole thing. I mean, where would we be without him asking that question? But Luke Evangelist and Matthew Dawson over there have been great. Like, they started that thread. They've been keeping up with it.
So good.
Kay has been integral in this stuff. Katie, Jamie Morey in Omaha. Like, there's such a team effort to where whenever we post a baseball running portal thread, transfer thread, recruiting thread, it's generated itself almost 1 million views now in about 15 or 16 days. Our baseball content since Mike Early's hire, so that was about a 14-day window when I was tracking it, it's over 1.5 million views on just on the site.
Right.
I'm not counting like what's been done on YouTube with y'all's interviews or the interview with Jace or our sit down with Early. Like, I'm just counting the stuff that was on the site. That's a truly astounding number for baseball, and it's helped us, our company, because the content, like how much of a gap has this bridged for you as the radio host?
Oh my gosh,
getting ready for football season.
Like, it's been the best of. It's been exhilarating and tiring, but it's been the best. I've had something to talk about every day.
Yeah, and so that is it's a commentary on the popularity of Aggie baseball right now, and it just continues to grow. But I also wanted to publicly thank all those people, and you're one of them too, that the baseball coverage has been – nobody's doing it like this. Not just for Texas A&M. There's not a multimedia company in college athletics covering college athletics that has covered their baseball program like we have.
Richard and I were revisiting one of my low points of my time at TexAgs, which was year one of Schloss, right? And it was opening weekend, and I think I only had like 30 minutes of baseball planned for the show, and we had a little talk about it, and I was wrong to where we are now, because the growth, and really what sparks growth is their interest, right? The people who go to our site and our subscribers and crave it. We try to feed you, right? Like that's what we try to do.
There's just been so much emotion tied to it over the last 6 months since January, like the preseason build up. We knew this team was going to be good, and getting Braden out of the portal last offseason was massive. And just the way the team played, and they win their first 17 or 18 games, whatever it was, and the atmospheres at Bluebell, and then the Caden Kent Grand Slam was like an all-time moment at Bluebell Park, and the run to the College World Series. There's so much emotion packed into that. And then the coaching transition and the way it went down just ratcheted up the emotion even more. And so people are like, they're invested. They've got feelings in this thing now. Like the way Aggie baseball plays, the way they feel at Bluebell Park, the memories they're creating with their families when they go, they want to keep doing that.
Yep.
And so what Michael Early is like capitalizing on that momentum, it's why they hired him. Like imagine a lot of the reason I would bet that they hired him was like, okay, like, we think he's going to be an outstanding head coach for years to come, but one of the things that we need to see him do is keep this momentum in-house and keep it rolling. So there was some pressure on Mike to get a staff hired and then keep all these guys here, and they did it. Like, he did that. That's got to be a massive, like, I think that's got to let General Welsh and Trev Alberts know, okay, like, we got something here.
Speaking of which, next Saturday, our preseason kickoff, okay? You're going to be interviewing Michael Early at the preseason kickoff. Trev Alberts will be speaking there. Mike Elko will be speaking there. I'll be interviewing Buzz Williams. And then Buzz, after I interview him, this is something I have not announced yet, is going to do a roundtable with a few of the A&M coaches. He's going to interview some of the A&M coaches, like Coach G and Garrett Chadwell. And I think Coach Henry's going to be there. It's going to be an awesome event that Buzz is going to interview them. That's next week.
And I also anticipate a lot of current athletes mingling amongst the crowd. And if you're an Aggie baseball fan, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I do believe Jace Lavalette is committed to being there. So if you just wanted to be around Jace, and I think we're working on a few more.
All right. Thank you, Brauninger. Great work as always. Right now, a moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet. You can find them on Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. I'm doing the yelling thing again. They have the best deals around town. You want to get a great deal on a vehicle, you go to caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. I bought a Tahoe from them a couple years back, and it was a great purchase. The entire experience was good for us, and I'll just give you a little background on the story. I'm cheap. I don't like to spend money. That's just how I roll. Like, I'm frugal, if you will. And I remember going back and forth with the sales associate there, Dylan, at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. I'm like, yeah, I know it's the right car, but I need time. No problem. Did the test drive. It's like, I need some time. We went to Florida, came back. I needed some time. And my wife's like, no, we don't need time no more. And she actually spoke with bad grammar at that time, but I fixed it. And then we ended up buying a Tahoe, and it's been a great purchase because we get the great customer service, the great people, the great everything, right? They are so, so good when it comes to buying your vehicle. 15-minute drive, Brian Caldwell, short conversation away. But you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When I think of our next guest, I think of Huey Lewis, of course. It's the power of love. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's keep it real. Jordan Pugh in the house. What's up, JP?
What's going on, man? Now, look, I need to apologize to you. You know, you caught me off guard last night. I am on daddy duty right now.
Okay.
So if my kids make an appearance, you know, just understand I'm on daddy duty right now.
Hey, I want you to know that that's what I like about what we do here. Like, I want daddy. Dude, I did a show from Seattle in a dark hotel room while the rest of the TexAgs crew was at Omaha for a College World Series run by Texas A&M. And I'm there because of my daughter. So, hey, bro, it's family here.
Yep, I understand, man. Hey, you want to know something? It's funny that you reached out because I happen to be watching a clip. I just on YouTube, so you know my girls are watching Mr. Beast, Dude Perfect, all that stuff, right? All of a sudden, the little clip shows, and you have my man Sam Acho on there. Now, me and Sam grew up together, and I heard the clip Sam was talking about, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to call in so I could blow up his little argument about Texas. But
remind me, because I remember countering several things. What did he say? Remind me the clip you saw.
Well, you know, he just talked about, you know, one of the things. Well, here's one of the things I've been hearing a lot, and he alluded to it, where he talked about Texas and how they're ready to enter the SEC, which I think they are to a sense. But then everybody keeps talking about how they beat Alabama, right? And I'm like, so what are we so proud of here? Because, you know, last time I checked, if we're just going off the Bama resume, A&M's done that twice. Not only has A&M done that twice, we've done that twice where both Alabama teams played for a national title. Last time I checked. If we're just using that. You know what I'm saying? You know, I understand why Texas gets a lot of the media, the praise, the hype, and all that. But at the end of the day, you know, they've been very mediocre since we've left and gone to the SEC. I don't understand what the fanfare is about. You know what I mean? So, you know, there's a lot we can get into on that, but I just would have loved to have the opportunity to, you know, blow up Sam's argument, especially since he's one of my friends too. Well, you know what I mean? But it's all good.
Hey, you know what? He's one of the few Texas guys. I don't even say few, but I enjoyed talking to him because he could handle the back and forth, right? Like he would say something, I'd say something, and he would laugh it off. It was like, it wasn't like angry. It was just like, I'm a Texas guy, you're an A&M guy, let's go. And I have questions about them. Look, I have questions about us. There's no doubt, right? But I dumb it down every time I talk about them. If you had close games in the Big 12 against Kansas State and against U of H and yada, 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 a lot of times in the SEC, those are losses. But the SEC schedule makers did give them a really nice schedule, Jordan.
Look, so I think Texas is going to be very average. I'm not a big believer on Texas. I just think it's one of those years where they had a very exceptional year. They had a lot of older talent on the team. I think Quinn Ewers is good. I don't think he's exceptional at all. Quinn Ewers kind of reminds me of Jay Cutler. That's kind of the comp that he gives me. Like a similar type of style, good players, but I don't see anything exceptional when it comes to their game. You know, I think Texas, I think that they'll fare well. I think that they'll have success in the SEC, but I think Sark understands the gauntlet that they're about to go through. I don't think the rest of the administration understands the gauntlet that they're about to go through. Understanding the depth of the SEC, how you have NFL players everywhere, being able to get up every single week. Like you said, those games that they played last year, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Wyoming. I want to say it was Houston, maybe, whatever, right? Teams that they played around with, you can't do that in this league. You're getting beat. So I just think that, you know, as far as the players are concerned, I'm not sure they understand what they're getting themselves into when they walk into the league.
Hey, let's talk about stuff from an A&M perspective. Were you able to hear any of Coach Elko and just kind of the I don't remember the last time we spoke. I think right after he got hired, but just the direction of the program.
I love it. I love the fact that they've been quiet. And here's what I love. I love the fact that he's demanded the work out of the guys. You know, there hasn't been a lot of noise, but I think there's a level of expectation, and I think everybody understands the vision of where he's trying to go and what they're trying to do. I think that people are sleeping on Texas A&M, and I'm not saying that because, of course, former Aggie, former player. I think when you look at the roster, the players are there, all the tools are there. We have the necessary pieces in order to be successful. Sometimes you just need a different chef in the kitchen. there's a whole lot of people that if you give them ingredients to a dish, they can't make anything. But if you give it to the right person who can cook it up, you can have a lot of success. And I think with Elko, the thing that I like about him, he's very measured. He understands what the task at hand is, but also he strikes me as the guy who can lead the group, who can cast the vision, and who knows how to take those ingredients and make a proper dish out of it. That's the sense I got from him. Very down to business, no nonsense, will hold people to a high standard. And I think that's the thing that A&M has been missing. We've always had the talent. It hasn't been a lack of resource. It hasn't been a lack of talent. Sometimes you just need the person to put the right pieces in the right place. And I think he has what it takes. He understands what it is. And I think he can put those pieces in place in order to get a success. That's what I heard yesterday when he was talking. I was listening for not really key words or key terms. I was listening for tone and vision. And I think he hits those two measurements.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I feel like Torian York could have played in your era, right? Could have played in the Wrecking Crew era. Yeah. He could have played in many of the top A&M defense eras because just the mindset and the way he plays, man, more than anything.
Oh, yeah. Tough minded. And then, look, you're coming in playing as what, a true freshman, right? Leading the group. Look, players are players, but I think he's the type of guy that fits Elko, and he's the type of guy that's that blue-collar mentality, tough guy, understands the rigors and understands the demand of what the position holds. I think, with him, talent, like we all know, is undeniable. Talent has extreme potential, but I think having a stalwart at that position is really going to help us. Overall, just from the D-line to the backup position, even though we can get into the secondary, everything is in place, but it's having those guys who understand what that task is. I think he's one of those guys, and I think he's a guy that you need because he's a guy that wasn't highly recruited. He's a guy who's passionate about this school. He understands what this is, and I think he's going to be a big addition to what we have going on this year.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio. Jordan, let's talk Shamar Turner. Yep. Man, there's certain things that get me going, and when I said this on the show this week. If I put on a pound or two of muscle in a year, at my age, I think that is amazing, right? That people think it's easy to put. It's one thing to put on fat. It's another thing to put on muscle. Shamar says he's put on 30 pounds. That guy looks jacked. Okay. Yeah. Just talk about that and the Tommy Moffitt effect and Shamar and put it all together for me.
I'm glad you brought it up. Remember when Elko got hired? I think you guys asked me, what's the first step or what's the most important thing? And the one thing that I said is the most important hire any coach can make is the strength coach. People do not understand how important that is. Offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, they can come and go. All right, scheme is scheme, football is football. You have to execute on the field. The one person who has the ear of the players, the one person who has the pulse of the team, the one person who is the disciplinarian, and also the one who enacts the toughness is that strength coach. And I think when he brought that up yesterday, that told me a lot because I think he understands what this really is. Having that right guy, having that guy in the offseason to be able to put your systems in, your mindset in, the type of values and core principles that you want as a team. And then you see the result when it comes to just the science of it, of course, getting bigger, faster, stronger. All that is going to play a huge factor. And, man, the fact to hear that he put on that much and then he's able to keep his explosiveness, just adds to his game, I think that's huge. But the value of a strength coach is so underrated. People do not understand that. There's no other coach on the team you fear more than the strength coach. Because when the strength coach shows up, two things happen. It's either good or it's bad. Either you're getting better or you're getting disciplined. And I think that's a huge factor in what this team is doing, man. And I think that's another big reason why it's been quiet in the offseason. Because being Elko's right-hand man, being his voice when he's not there, that plays a huge factor in the success of a team.
All right, last thing for you. I know you've always been bullish on Connor Wigman. Yesterday, Coach Elko said he's moving great, looking good. Yeah. Your thoughts on what he can hopefully finally do? You've been asking for him for 3 seasons, right? He was a freshman. Yeah. It was the summer you were asking for him before the even season started. Yeah. So if they protect him, man, great things are going to happen.
Man, I think, you got to see a small glimpse of what he is. Because when he was playing with the first 3 or 4 games, I can't remember if that Auburn game was like the 4th game of the year or not. But you saw a glimpse of what he is, what he can be, and a glimpse of what this offense can be under him and how explosive it can be. Now, you mix that in with the new offensive coordinator coming in, I think that could be huge. This guy is a playmaker. I saw him in high school, all right? And the skill set that he had is the same skill set that would make him successful in college, just enhancing it more. And when you saw a glimpse of what he is, he was one of the top passers in the country at the time. Had one of the highest QBRs right before he got hurt. You looked at how the offense was flowing through him. I think it's leaps and bounds. I just believe that A&M is a sleeping giant this year. I believe that they have the right pieces in place. I believe that they have the right skilled players in place. I think you're looking at the additions on the offensive line. You're looking at what we have defensively. The only concern I may have is the secondary. But overall, all the pieces with Connor leading the charge, I think this could be a sleeper team that could really make some noise this year.
Look, I'm going to put you on the spot before we hit a break. We're going to do this weekly again, right, during the season?
Yes. Okay. You already know this.
All right. Just want to make sure.
You already know this. And then I'm really looking forward to when the season starts so I can start my rant on Texas. I have an entire rant that I have ready to go, but I'm waiting on the right time to let that go.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you here in a few weeks, all right?
All right, let's do it.
Later. Jordan Pugh, keeping it real here on TexAgs Radio. We'll hit a break here. We'll come back with Around Aggieland right now. Let's just hit a break. Let's not even do a spot. Let's just hit a break, come back, reset, finish out the hour strong before Billy comes. It's TexAgs Radio. We're back on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for recruiting. No, why am I reading the wrong stuff? I'm Ron Burgundy. Around Aggieland, presented by Normandy State Bank. Normandy State Bank, rock solid banking. The website, normandystatebank.com. And with that, we have Ryan Brauninger. Just kidding. Kay Naegeli.
I'm just living in Bronny's shadow, apparently.
What's up?
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good. We've been together a lot this week.
Yeah.
The entire Monday through Thursday.
Let me make sure we add with Olin, with Richard Zane, with Katie, with Billy Liucci. Yes.
Yeah, I know. I think I was picking up on Nick's terminology by
Nick
the
was
end
there
of
too, yeah.
Thursday. Oh, yeah, Nicholas Savage.
What terminology is that?
I started using the word bruh more.
He does
Yes,
do bruh.
he does. He goes, bruh. I noticed that, and then me and Katie were just laughing all week.
There was a
just
lot of laughter.
Through the ups and downs of the days. So
Best meal you had?
Papados. What? It was really good. That was my favorite dinner. You and OB were like, we're going to go get Papados.
I would have gone every day.
The dip, yes, I agree. The dip that you recommended, fire.
If you guys haven't had
go eat
that
it.
fondue at Papa, I'm sorry. That's not even a live endorsement. I'm sorry.
It's ridiculous.
It is like, and did I eat broccoli the whole time or did I eat?
No, I was so proud of you. You were chips, salsa. You were like
I had more chips
carbs.
than anybody.
Yeah, we were going down on some chips too.
All right.
Anyways, let's talk about what is happening around Aggieland now that we are back here after being in Dallas. On that same note, football, A&M was joined by Arkansas, Auburn, and Kentucky on Thursday to conclude 2024 SEC Media Days in Dallas. Great overall experience. We got to talk to a lot of different people, get excited for football season, and it is officially talking season as August 31st is just 43 days away. So that is exciting.
It's like legit here.
It is.
Practices are starting soon.
I know. It's kind of scary. We got kickoff the next weekend, and then the next week practices will start. We get to sweat out in the heat and watch some football practice happen. But
let me know how it goes.
Yeah, I'll make sure to hydrate a lot this time around.
Oh, I forgot. Have we talked about that on the air or not?
I don't know.
Let's just say she got a little heat exhaustion. Is that what we can call it?
Yeah, that's good. I'm going to hydrate a lot.
You were so embarrassed.
I really was.
And we were so concerned.
It was okay.
Anyways,
I was all right. Anyways, same on the football front. Recruiting this time, I know Bronny just talked about it, but 2025 Ohio defensive back Trey McNutt is set to make a decision today at 5 p.m. He will decide between A&M, Florida, Ohio State, Oregon, and USC. And I know Bronny just said that may be leaning the Ducks' way, so we will see on that one. And then the Olympics is going to start next Friday. Just want to read through some of those Aggies competing. We have 9 track and field Aggies, 7 swim and dive, 1 tennis, 1 archery, and then 1 assistant women's basketball coach. Can you guess who that is?
Mrs.
Joni Taylor. She did not graduate from Texas A&M, obviously, but is the current sitting women's basketball coach. And then from the track and field front, just some names to know. Fred Curley, Maggie Malone Harden, Brandon Miller. I actually interviewed him while I was in college. That was a pretty cool experience. And then Lamar Diston, Bryce Stedman, and then on the swim and dive front, Shane Casas, Curtis Matthews, Jackson Bowshire. So, and then tennis, Austin Krajcek. So excited for the Olympics to start. And then on the baseball front as well, Chris Cortez did sign to the Angels for $1.597 million. That is below the slot value of around $2 million, but we are happy for Chris. And then obviously Mike Elko is doing some great things, trying to haul in some guys on the baseball front. So
great job today. Great job this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, KK. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, Billy Liucci. We're going to hear some of the sound from Coach Elko and some of the players as well. We'll chit-chat with Billy about all the great things that happened this week and more. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers.
You mentioned the accountability under Coach Elko. What are some of the words that I guess people, once they play, how are they going to describe a Mike Elko program?
We're going to be the most disciplined program and the toughest program. We're going to get to work every single day. We bust our butts, and it's going to show on the field.
Discipline, get to work, bust our butts. Love it. Love it. That's Trey Zune yesterday at SEC Media Days. This is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio. Should have Billy here in studio soon. We might call him here in about 3 or 4 minutes. But before we do any of that, let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center where we can find Matthew Dawson. Matthew, I know we had a couple different texts and some other thoughts to get into. Why don't you break it down for us?
Well, Wendy in College Station says, look, we bring back the most production from last year in the entire conference according to the SEC Network. Our hardest games are at home, and I'm sold on Moffitt. 8-4 should be the floor. Now, the SEC Network graphic that she's referring to on the broadcast, I believe that they use Bill Connolly's SP Plus for that, and A&M comes in at 18th in the country in returning production, which is number 1 in the SEC.
Is that right? 18th in the country. Who was number 1? Do you have that on you?
Yes, I do.
Can you give me some of the top teams of returning production? Because I want to see what I think about them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, let's see. We got number 1.
Because if they have no SEC team above 18 is, I think, an interesting.
Well, Texas does not come far behind. They're at 25th in the country, but that also offensive line snaps are a big deal in his metrics, and they return almost their entire offensive line. Like Virginia Tech is way up at the top. They're at number 1. Iowa State is at number 2. They return 20 of their 22 starters for next year. Nebraska is also on that list as well. The only snaps that they lose at quarterback really on that whole team. Oklahoma State returns their entire offensive line at 4. Virginia at 5. They lost a lot of production at receiver, but Malachi Fields is pretty good there as well. So, I mean, those are some of the teams at the top of the list.
Yep.
But in terms of the SEC, you're looking at Texas A&M is coming in at 1. Texas is over there coming in at 2. At 3 is Missouri, actually. But they're really held in there by their offensive metric. I think they're top 15 in the country. Their defensive returning production is, I believe, closer to the bottom half in the country.
They lost their defensive coordinator as well.
And they lost their defensive coordinator, which this does not account for.
And they also have the easiest schedule based on last year's records in the SEC. Correct. They'll be 10-2 by accident.
Correct. Another one that's kind of sneaky on here is Florida comes in at 32 overall, and number 4th in the SEC. Interesting one to watch out for because I know their over-runners at 5.5. Everyone's talking about their schedule, but I know that the media members at SEC Media Days you were talking about mentioned that Florida, might have a pretty good team this year, and A&M gets them in Gainesville.
Yeah, they worry. So it worries me to go to Gainesville because it's a freaking SEC place with a lot of talent and returning production and a coach that has a lot of pressure on them and a game that they need. I mean, we need to win too, but Florida needs. As of today, is the Miami-Florida game in Florida? It is in Gainesville, right?
It is in Gainesville.
All right. So that is a must-win for the Gators, in my opinion.
Agreed. And they were talking about the other day on air, I forget who it was that came on air, it's like they could be coming off of a great win against Miami and use that momentum coming in to that A&M game, or they could be coming off of a loss and Billy Napier and staff over there starts feeling a little bit of the pressure, kind of that wounded animal mode, back into a corner attitude that, might get them some edge right there. So it is a very interesting spot that I don't think enough people are talking about.
If you were to ask me today, I'd say Miami would win based on Cam Ward and some of the differences they've made.
Yeah, and the returning production, too, on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, they got a lot there. So
that would be my initial thought. But going on the road in the SEC is hard, right? So Miami's going to have to go to the swamp and do it. So Florida will put that schedule back up if you don't mind, please. You got Miami, Samford, and A&M, and then at Mississippi State. If you are the University of Florida and then UCF, you're looking at that first 5 games as, hey, if we're going to make a bowl game, we've got to go 3-2 at the very worst, right? And because then you go to Tennessee. Kentucky comes to Georgia. Comes to Florida. You've got the game against Georgia, of course, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, and at Florida State. I mean,
hey, you just skipped over UCF there. Just want to let you know. I mean, KJ Jefferson's over there.
That's right.
Quarterback now. Both of their running backs, R.J. Harvey and Penny Boone, both had 1,400 yards last year at their respective schools. What's his name? Kobe Hudson from Auburn a couple years back at receiver. I mean, they got some real talent there. And I was listening to some beat writers talk about UCF a little bit. they really like their interior defensive line. And I think that can give you problems if you're not able to, like, especially at the quarterback position, right? If you get pressured from the middle, I think that's a lot tougher to deal with on a down-to-down basis than just getting pressured off the edge.
From an A&M perspective, though, like, you've got to win that Florida game. Obviously, you got to win the Notre Dame game first. That's top of mind if you're a coaching staff. But as a talk show host, I just need the end of the losing streak on the road. I just need it to be done, right? No more talking point. I don't want to think about it anymore because if you can, Nick, pull up the A&M schedule. That Florida game, which is the third week of the season, you got a ways to go for another true road game because what do you have? You have the Arkansas game, not a true road game. You have the Missouri game. Your next true road game is at Mississippi State, October the 19th. It's a long stretch, a very long stretch. Win that Florida game against the team. And again, this is what SEC Media Days does, is they talk you in and out of why teams will be really good and why teams will be bad. There's a lot of talk about Florida being better than we think. A lot of talk about LSU being one of those elite teams. And you look at LSU's schedule, you can see why they are excited there in Baton Rouge. With that, our guy, Billy Liucci. Good morning, buddy.
David.
How are you?
This cup, look at what a weird shape for a cup. Who has a mouth like that goes like that?
Huh. Boss.
You are now entering I was going to walk in here, but then I was like that. I'm going to just start him up. Say you are now entering the no fun zone.
I don't mind.
That was all. That's all I was going to say. That was it.
Yeah.
And I heard y'all this morning.
By the way, other people would disagree with you. They think I'm a lot of fun. The biggest fun.
I heard y'all this morning, and I was like, when you guys were talking about meeting people and hanging out, you don't associate with anyone. You go from the cafeteria to work with your glasses on, head down. I scared you the other day because you weren't even looking up, and I popped up from behind the pillar.
I don't remember being scared.
Well, you jumped, but popped out, and you were like, oh, and because you were just so focused on making it back to the desk and not talking to anyone. And then Olin, Olin, the only people he talks to, like, you've got to be like, I didn't say it.
I did.
I was going to. They're like, it's like the octogenarian sect. The youngest dude he hangs out with up there is Kirk Bowles.
Oh, I was going to say me.
No, our group, but Kirk, but like he's the baby face of the bunch. And
can I tell you the why behind me?
But Olin's crew, yes, but Olin's crew are the guys that like Coach Elko's talking yesterday in the big room, and I'm sending you guys videos. These people are just yapping incessantly. Like, it's like the kind of people you turn around and you go, shh, hey guys, like, shut up. I know it's a big room, but you're so loud, and you haven't stopped talking yet that maybe Mike Elko can't hear you, but no one within 30 feet of you can hear what the football coach is saying, which is why we're in the room. So take y'all's little, old folks home conversation outside the room, because most of you, maybe they can't hear. I don't know, but it was absurd.
I like real conversations.
And by the way, one of them is a person that you guys, and actually I'll put this is on probably Gabe and Olin, used to regularly have on the show.
Oh.
Just
Chatty Cathy?
Well, I'm not, that's all I'm going to say.
Chatty Cathy. That's all I said. So here's the absolute truth. My kids can tell you this. My wife can tell you this.
Oh, see, now you're making...
No. I'm about me. They'll agree with you.
Oh, okay.
I don't like fake conversations.
Hey,
how's the day going?
No,
It's great. Oh, good interviews? Yeah, great. Hey, what do you guys got? I don't like that.
Neither does my dad.
Okay,
Bill
I like
Liucci.
real.
But you got to,
you got to play the game.
You just have to figure out who you like. That you can have that. But
Cole
who's on your
Kublik,
list?
love talking to Cole. Okay, Jordan Rogers, love it. These are celebrities, by the way. Jordan, what? They are celebrities, right? Greg McElroy, love talk. John Neighbors, a lot of fun conversations with him, right? There's so many different guys Dave Wilson from ESPN. We spoke for like 40 minutes in the lobby. There's certain people I like talking to.
Dave is a lobby talker.
He is a lobby talker.
Dave.
I love that guy, but we talked.
He's listening.
Marty Smith, love talking to him. Random guy that I don't know your name.
By the way, I'm going to have to answer that lobby talker comment now.
He's gonna
Next
text.
time I see him, we're going to talk about me talking about him being a lobby talker, and it's going to be a whole nother lobby talk. Dave.
But when people stop me, hey man, you having some good interviews, and you don't even know my name half the time. I don't need the fake
does
talk.
that? Who
People
does that?
do it. They want to fake talk, and I don't want to fake talk.
I don't know people that really do that.
Oh, they all fake talk. They all do.
My favorite is walking around there having previous beef conversations around the SEC. It's pretty fun. We've had a bunch. We squashed beefs throughout the week up there.
I didn't squash beef.
Who'd you have beef with?
I don't have. I just know that no Texas reporter outside of Kurt Bowles made eye contact with me. Not one. Maybe it's because I don't make eye contact with anybody. I'm looking down.
There's so I had a good time up there though. I
like Dallas,
and I liked what you guys were saying, or the caller actually said it's more about being on each other's shows. What I tell you yesterday, I did 8 or 9 other shows yesterday. Just talking about Texas A&M, talking about other things we did, fun we had up there, and getting them on our shows. I enjoy doing those stupid little spin-offs just while we're waiting in between things. I think, who was it? Caroline and I, and then me and T-Bob and her, and then it was Cole.
Uno.
He really did. At first, he accidentally called you Uno, and I was like, lean into that one. Maybe it'll catch. But that's more on Cole that he thinks you're Uno. Him and Jake Crane cannot say your name right. And I used to correct Crane, but now I just don't even do it.
I call him Cram.
Yeah, oh, you do? Good. Yeah, because he's like Nuno. And
Cram.
I'm like, it's like Dolores Liucci. He's like got a rolling end. See that little thing over the end? I don't know if that's a rolling end, but it's Nuño.
Hey, I got an idea for you.
Okay.
If you would like for me to be more social.
I like you the way you are, but
in Nashville I was social. I was. Okay, we hung out several times. In the future, if we move it to an afternoon show, I think I'd be much more. When I get good sleep, I'm good, man. Like I'm happy today. I got good sleep. Why am I talking like that?
I don't know, but I also know somebody else came in here that really missed the spotlight, didn't he? I mean, he can run his mouth, and I heard him this morning. That guy, this is his worst week of the year because all he does is sit here in that chair and farts all day. And we know that's what he does. And he sits in there and just looks at everything we're doing and goes, man, I could do that better than David. I could do that better than Olin. I could do that better than Billy. I could do that better than Richard, Nick Savage, Luke Evangelist, Katie. I'll give her some advice when she gets back. Kay Naegeli's doing this wrong. I'll correct her on that when she gets back. And then, but also it is the most glorious 4 days of FOMO that I produce in anyone all year. I could go on, you name the trip, name the sporting event, I'm going to go to social media and post what I did. There is nothing I do that generates more FOMO and wish I was there, a part of it, and I'm going to act like I didn't, than us in Dallas or at SEC Media Days every year with Brauninger. So it's good. And by the way, he needed that after Omaha when Zane upstaged him.
We're just mean to each other. It's funny, though. Hey, can we talk
I am
football
curious.
stuff?
I am curious to see. Well, I mean, yeah, she's Nuño. I mean,
Do you want to keep
sure.
joking? We can get the comedy routine going.
No, I'd love a comedy routine,
All
quite
right.
frankly. And to be honest, speaking of comedy, you see where Shane Gillis said he's going to be at the Notre Dame A&M game?
Is he really?
Yeah.
I did not. He's one of my favorites. Love him.
He's going to be here.
Did you see his most recent little Trump video that he did? Pretty funny.
Where he's wearing the wig and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other guy that's he goes on Rogan all the time is Biden is hilarious.
Yeah. Well, I don't think the guy that did Biden did a very good impression. I thought
face.
some of it was, but Gillis does an incredible Trump. He always has.
He was at the A&M Texas baseball game, right?
Yeah, he lives in Austin.
Yeah.
So
everybody lives in Austin now. Like
all the comedians,
the Rogans, all the influencers, your boy InfoWars.
They're leaving. They're leaving L.A. They're leaving California. Who can blame them? I mean, who doesn't hate the ocean and 75, 85 degree temperatures and beautiful views and mountains and
You know, my boy Shrek Juan lives out there, and I'm like, when are you gonna move back? He's like, why would I move back? I'm like, because I can give you 55 reasons, but we won't make it a political show.
There's a lot of reasons, but I'm just kidding. I do love California, but I would not live there.
No. And honestly, I love Dallas, but I was happy to get back to College Station.
Me too.
It was. I needed it. All right, let's talk Noah Thomas, because one of the things that they talked about was putting on some weight and looking a little bit more. If he
is this a 24 and 24 type thing?
No, we're just talking. Okay. No, 24 and 24.
We just dove right into Noah. I was like,
he just a note that I had on here.
Yeah, I noticed Elko mentioned him too yesterday.
If he ends up being what I think we thought he could be midway through his freshman year and after his freshman year, he's got to stay healthy. I mean, we know all the question marks, but if he puts on a little bit of size and can stay healthy, that guy could potentially be what we've envisioned for a while.
There's a ton of potential at wide receiver. But I think it's as unproven a position. Maybe not. Corner might be the most unproven, but there's so many options and there's so much depth and so many players that have proven it even at different schools. And then you got the highest end talent with Ricks and Bussey. But in the case of Noah, of the receiver position, Noah, my point is like all these plays are coming in one game. Here we go. This Tennessee, he had a good game. Like, he can do that all day, I feel like.
Yep.
That catch you just saw, he can make those plays all day. Ole Miss, there he was. So, like, the key to me for Noah is just staying healthy.
Yep.
And if he's added some size, it's getting off the ball, too. That's a part of his game that, he needs to improve on, which he should with experience and growing up, like size-wise. Getting stronger, getting more physical. He's got a frame to be a pretty physical dude. I think Noah is a guy that kind of put a little check mark on by the name Noah Thomas, because guys like him and Albert Regis, Le'Veon Moss, these are guys that their names have kind of consistently come up in the offseason as high-end performers. People mentioned Reuben Owens.
Mm-hmm.
Their names have come up as, like, consistently to me, like, okay, there's a name again. There's that name again. And that is usually a pretty good indicator of the guys that are going to have good seasons. And in the case of Noah, what I know are two guys that were like three. Bryce Anderson really went like full buy-in. And it might have taken a couple weeks, but he went like, boom, okay, Bryce is going to end up being a leader of this football team type deal, and a really good player. The other guys that I kept hearing mentioned is kind of they've bought in, or like they've really bettered themselves this spring. And then I've heard it again in the summer off season. Are Noah, Shamar Stewart's name has come up a lot. These are guys who have come up a lot as like, okay, they're still going. But guys that Elko asked a lot from in the spring, that because they need them to be key components. They need them to be starting high-end players on this football team. And I don't know whether it happened day one. It probably didn't. But both of those guys are two that people really, really close to this thing have said, yeah, there's full buy-in, and they've really gotten better as a result of that. And they've figured it out. They figured out the expectation level, both off the field but also on the field, like in practice when it comes to competing against your teammates, like and doing it every single day, every rep. And those are two guys that have come up a couple times, more than a couple times. So that's encouraging, because there's a world where Noah Thomas and Shamar Stewart are two of your star players, two of your best players. So, man, and Moose's name coming up from some of the players lately, that really resonates too, because we know what a committed and determined Moose Muhammad can be.
Yeah.
You see it within games. And if we can see that week to week, and if he can get off to a good start in September, then this whole thing, to me, the entire offense looks different.
All right, let's hit a break here. We'll come back with some more SEC Media Days conversation. All right, it's time to reserve space for your holiday party at our good friends at Hush and Whisper. Contact them and submit a request on events page of their website, hushandwhisper.com. Last year, they hosted parties for groups of 20 to 150 guests. Very successful nights. Folks had a blast out there. Beautiful venue, plenty of seating. You've heard me talk about Hush and Whisper for a couple months now. They're in downtown Bryan at the Verisco building. Basically, you go there for an innovative experience. It's a distillery and a cocktail lounge founded to defy convention and distill true grain-to-glass spirits. They have the white whiskey that they make there, 70% corn, 16% wheat, 14% malted barley, the original vodka, and the original gin. You can go there, reserve a tour and a tasting, right? You'll enjoy that. You can just do a tasting and learn all about it, the nuances of flavor. It's such a cool experience. Book an event, meeting, celebration, team building. Come in for a cocktail or a mocktail, buy a bottle, or experience it at home. Gin, vodka, and white whiskey bottles for sale. They're open Thursdays and Fridays from 2 to 11 p.m., on Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. The address is 219 North Main Street. The website, hushandwhisper.com. That's hushandwhisper.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy is with us while he's walking in the studio. Let's play some sound from, I think we still have one more Coach Elko soundbite to listen to. Here's Coach Elko yesterday at SEC Media Days. And scene. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Matthew Dawson, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Edward in Austin says, Elko doesn't have a road losing streak. Defending home field always more important.
You win your home games, pretty darn good year, right?
Could be pretty darn good. If you win every single home game, it could be a pretty darn good year.
Whoa. What are you humming and puffing about?
What's up?
Okay. So can we get a little bit into, I don't know, you probably haven't been paying attention. Marcus Freeman was talking a little bit about the opener and what he expects to see. A lot of coach speak in his answer, but it kind of got me to what Greg McElroy was talking about, the fit with Riley Leonard there at Notre Dame. He says it's, I think it's a great fit. He said this on College Football Live. I think he's got the skill set that is pretty similar of a young Jaden Daniels, who Mike Denbrook, their new offensive coordinator, really did a tremendous job of developing the last couple of years. Great mobility. I mean, tremendous athlete, a guy that can create with his legs.
That is accurate. If you watch Riley Leonard, I don't know about the Jaden Daniels comparison.
That one worries me.
But I do know if the comparison is that Denbrock's going to have another terrific runner at quarterback that can also throw a little. I'd say a little bit. He's better than throw a little bit. I don't think he's an elite passer, but he can throw. Then the answer is yes. But Mike Elko knows that, and
yep.
A lot of their staff understand that. But hey, A&M beat Jaden Daniels in year one at LSU.
Could have beat him last
year.
year.
And you know who outplayed him?
Connor Wigman.
Yeah. Now, Jaden Daniels came back. If somebody wants to pull stats, Jaden Daniels outstatted Connor in that game. I would guess. I don't know, but remember, LSU. Probably late third, early fourth. So like a quarter of that game, LSU was down like 38-17 or something. They were down 3 scores at some point. They stayed consistently down multiple scores in that football game. So it was a little bit different when one running back's running for 240. But if you watch the football game, Connor Wigman at the beginning of that game, like first half when A&M built a lead, Wigman was outplaying Jaden Daniels.
I've got the numbers right here.
Go ahead.
Connor, 12 of 18, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns.
No turnovers.
No turnovers. Jaden Daniels, 21 of 35, 189.
Yeah. I mean, so how many 18 passes? And what was Connor, 12 of 18?
Mm-hmm.
18 passes to 35. He threw for only like 50 more or 30 more yards. Had a massive fumble that iced the game for A&M. Fumbled the ball and who ran that in for the Aggies? There's no way you'll remember. You got to look it up.
Was it?
I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
It was a scoop and score. Oh, it was Edgerrin Cooper. Scooped it up, ran it in for a touchdown. Or did Edge force the fumble? No, it was D. Lyman forced the fumble. Edge scooped and scored. And, so that was a terrific play by the defense. It was also a mistake by Jaden Daniels. Like that game, Connor absolutely outplayed Jaden. He had more support. He was the A-chain in the running game. But, I'd also say that Connor was probably playing against a better defense that year. LSU's defense was terrible this past year. So, point being, Riley Leonard's good. I do think he's a great fit.
I think it was Damani Richardson, 27-yard fumble return.
Okay, and Edge forced it then. Yeah. Okay, so there it was. Yeah, Damani, because Damani's always – Johnny on the spot there.
Yes. Yeah.
But, Riley Leonard is a good fit at Notre Dame. Denbrock's a damn good OC. So that tandem with, it's scary because they have such a good defense. If they just bring a solid offense in here, they're going to be real problematic. And they are going to be problematic, trust me. But Connor Wigman can outplay Riley Leonard in that game. I thought the biggest thing that
both quarterbacks coming back from injury too.
Yeah, I thought the biggest thing that caught my attention this week, as far as A&M goes, are 2 things. Number one, I think the people outside of College Station are more bullish on this team. They're not bullish on them winning an SEC title, but there are a lot of them that think this A&M team is a back end of like a playoff contender. Like, could they be 9-3? Could they be 10-2? A lot of them thought they'd beat Texas. A lot of them also are like, you show me. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm not going in on A&M until you show me. And that's the mix. But there were more people than I thought that were going, this should be a pretty good football team year one under Elko. Like, he provides a lot of what they're missing. And then the other thing that a lot of people talked about that really resonated was Connor Wigman. You guys heard what Jordan Rogers said about him. Just talking to people, to the side and over drinks and dinner and lunch and things like they're sitting there and everybody's like, Connor, seriously, like, this guy's really damn good. And what I keep saying is, what if Connor Wigman didn't break his foot? What's the conversation about Texas A&M like this past week? What are they talking about?
Well,
like, if
can you play that through, though, for a minute?
Because Jimbo might still be here.
But just for a moment,
yeah.
If he doesn't get hurt, they're not 7-5. I'm sorry, they're not, okay? Mm-hmm. They're not 7-5, and he finishes, if you just take the average of what he's done in his first, 8 games starting or 8 games playing, and that translates to an entire season, he is coming into this as one of the 4 or 5 best quarterbacks in the SEC.
Exactly. And so, AKA an all SEC contending quarterback. Like, Jaden Daniels did this. Could Connor have kept up? We'll never know. I'd say no behind the O-line, the way the O-line played last year. And, oh, by the way, Jaden Daniels had a future number 1 pick at tackle, a probable other first-round pick at tackle. They're damn near like Jokel and Matthews, not quite because the tandem isn't as good, but Will Campbell is in that league. He had Neighbors, and he had Brian Thomas, 2 first-round. So 2 first-round receivers and a likely number 1 pick at tackle. So it's not apples to apples. And I don't think this is something that we would have been talking about because, had Connor not broken his foot with the way that O-line gave up sacks and things, no one made it through last year. Jalen Henderson didn't make it through. Max Johnson didn't make it through. So for Connor to have made it from game 4 to game 12 would have been exceedingly difficult. And therein lies the biggest question mark still for the team this year. And Trey Zuna, I thought, did a great job of addressing it yesterday, which is the O-line. So, but in an imaginary world where Connor Wigman and now hopefully you have an improved offensive line so you don't have to live in that imaginary world. Had Connor not gotten hurt, and forget all the stuff of then Jimbo might still be here because I do think he's that good. You lost to Tennessee because you had like 12 points in the fourth quarter. If you could have produced 3 touchdowns through 3 quarters,
you win.
20 points, you win that game. Much less through 4, but you're in total control. That Bama game, the offense did virtually nothing in the second half. That was as winnable a game against Bama as you're going to play. And Ole Miss, they lose on the last play. Now, Max played really well in the second half of that one.
Brilliant.
They were brutal in the first half, but they were 1 play short. And then who's the other one? Oh, LSU. Jalen Henderson played outstanding in the first half of that game, but that was still your third quarterback of the season at the end of the year with nothing to play for and playing for an interim head coach, and they led LSU at halftime. Yeah. So, yeah, maybe Connor wins enough to where we're not even talking about a new coaching staff, and maybe it's Jimbo still on the hot seat after an 8-4 year. But just say, if that quarterback played 10, 12 games last year, the conversation about him, based on how he would have performed,
different,
would be, who is the first team all SEC quarterback? There's Jackson Dart. There's who are your other contenders?
Carson Beck, obviously.
Jalen Milroe, Carson Beck, Jackson Dart, Connor Wigman. And Ewers. I think those 5 guys, he'd be right in there being talked about. And I think he'd probably even be ahead of Carson Beck in the conversation I think it's Milroe, Ewers, and Dart and Wigman. I do. I mean, I was in the middle of the conversations the day he got hurt against Auburn, where people were sitting there debating, Dart, Daniels, Wigman. Who is it? Who's it going? It was who's it going to be? Who's going to emerge out of those guys? And look, it was Daniels, and I loved what Dart did last year. But I think people around the conference would have been saying, I loved what Wigman did last year too. So I think we have forgotten that around here sometimes, like some of the people I read, like the fans and what they're saying and talking about. Texas A&M has a 5-star quarterback signee that was every bit as highly rated as Ewers and Klubnik and some of these other guys we're talking about. And he has proven it on the football field behind a bad offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
But he's proven it in a very limited thing. The other thing that gets me is this, everybody was saying, is he healthy? Okay, if he can, best ability is availability. Can he stay healthy? I agree. Every quarterback has to stay healthy. I think it's more of an A&M quarterbacks have to stay healthy than
as opposed to Connor.
Than a Connor.
Yeah.
People were acting like, and it surprises me, that he didn't play. He was hurt. He's been hurt both years.
No.
He just didn't start. He was a true freshman. He didn't start until the Ole Miss game in early November of his freshman season. I guess he missed one game. He missed the Florida game with the flu when all those players missed.
The entire roster.
But that was it.
Yeah.
He was available. He finished the season. So he just didn't. People think he's been hurt, and that's why you've only seen him in X number of games. The next year, he suffered one injury. It was a season ender. I mean, it's unfortunate. Happens. The guy missed a block. He got blown up and broke an ankle or foot. It's football.
To the break. Somebody wants me to ask you about something Ketch tweeted a little bit ago, so I'll ask you about that. Holly Johnson, our good friend there at Costa Vida, she's the owner. Her and Nick are awesome over there. They want to let you know that they're going to be at the annual preseason kickoff that we host, by the way. And they have a table with 2 extra tickets for the events and spots at the table she'd like to give away to veterans and law enforcement. So please post your branch or agency and years that you serve. 2 names will be chosen from all the comments listed. We'll announce the boards and contact you by DM or email. So you want to go to our premium boards and put your information on there. That event obviously is coming up next Saturday, so you want to check it out. They're going to take good care of you. 2 extra tickets for the event. If you haven't been to Costa Vida and South College Station, you're missing out. The Fresh Mex done the right way, where every ingredient matters. It's a great place to go in the morning for your morning meeting and your coffee and your breakfast taco, and then throughout the day you can just stay the entire day and just enjoy awesome food where every ingredient matters in South College Station. Aggie owned and operated, 4501 Mills Park Circle in College Station is Costa Vida.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see it. I think, he's healthy now, like I said he would be. We knew that was coming. It just wasn't there as quick as maybe we needed it to be for spring ball. But that was never, we were never going to have a record coming out of spring ball. And so you guys were a lot more worried about that than I ever was. I've been trying to calm you guys down on that for a while. But, he's running now. He's full speed. He's doing everything we're doing from an athletic standpoint, running, conditioning, cutting, all of that. And so I think he's getting really confident in where his body is, which that was the first part. I think the hardest part when you come back from injury is it takes a mental toll on you too, right? These kids want to play, and certainly Connor doesn't want to sit out. He doesn't want to be unhealthy through spring, and that all kind of, I think, takes a toll on you. And so him being healthy now, able to go out there, you're starting to see that energy. You're starting to see him really come into himself, and obviously it's going to be really important for us to get good quarterback play.
Coach Elko there. Talking about, obviously, the health of Connor Wigman, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Billy's with us. Billy, did you want to bring something up before I read this tweet from Ketchum?
Well, it's a tweet. It's actually a tweet. It was pretty funny. Cole Kubelik replied, and I want to let you know, folks, we were lied to at Media Days yesterday.
Huh.
And it's unfortunate, and unfortunately, it came from the A&M side. Jerome Kersey, 52, off of Twitter, is his handle. Jerome Kersey, 52, says, Shamar Turner, he does not look 300 pounds because he is not 300 pounds. So evidently, Shamar, you're not 300 pounds. Maybe, just maybe it wasn't true. He is small AF, Air Force. I don't know what he means by that. For a DT, and will be dominated. So, unfortunately, Shamar, you're not 300, and you will be dominated this year. What a terrible decision to return. But according to this guy, I guess you couldn't have played in the NFL anyway because you're too small and will be dominated. Because, yes, there's a real reason for him to come up and lie on camera to a group of people when, oh, by the way, he's a pretty damn good player at 270 and would still be a damn good player at 270. Cole Kubelik replies, there is literal video evidence of him dominating, not being dominated. You can actually watch it on tape against SEC offensive lines. And then I had to correct Cole, though. I said, look, if Jerome Kersey, 52, said he's not 300 and will be dominated, then he is not 300 and he will be dominated. So
Jerome knows his stuff.
Hey, maybe pass the memo along to Shamar and Elko, and maybe they'll adjust accordingly, because I think Shamar already proved he's a pretty damn good player at 270. You know why he doesn't look 300? And I that is the one thing I agree with that guy about.
He is lean.
Very lean, 300 pounds, and he is he's built similarly like a college-age Ty Warren right now. Ty ended up getting a lot bigger in the NFL, playing at 3-4. But yeah, Shamar and gosh, I get people just don't listen. I did it. So whole deal with T-Bob and Jacob Hester, and hearing them talk about Tommy Moffitt and what he's done, and Shamar talked about how he's eaten, and the guy's committed to going out as a high-round NFL draft pick. And it's like I always say, if Shamar Turner's best year at A&M is this year, you better watch the hell out, because he is going to destroy people. You know who else didn't look 300 pounds? And he probably played it. He probably played it probably between 290 and 300, but he didn't look it at all. He came on his visit to A&M. He was 245, and he started playing on the field at like 260 maybe. Justin Matabike.
Oh yeah,
who just got paid a hell of a lot of money playing football for the Baltimore Ravens, and I think Shamar Turner has that kind of ability inside. He's going to be so quick. You look at him there last year. Almost 11 tackles for loss, 6 sacks. Look at the number of pressures. You move him inside with that quickness, and then you've got Shamar Stewart on one edge and Nick Scorton on the other. DJ Hicks, who I had I love saying, shout out, Anonymous Scout Season. He texted me saying that watching that bowl game, he said DJ Hicks is an absolute beast. Absolute beast. And that was really his first extensive
viewing
game action. Yep. And that's not even mentioning Albert Regis. The one guy they don't talk about Regis. And, oh, by the way, they also got a transfer in Rodis Johnson from Wisconsin that started like 22 or 24 games for the Badgers. They typically play pretty good defense up there in Madison, Wisconsin. So, and did I not mention Cassius Howell, who everybody's excited about? Cole in particular. By the way, Elko in particular. Got him. You've got one of, to me, the most impressive physical strides of the offseason. My short list includes guys like Le'Veon Moss and then Rylan Kennedy.
You've talked about Rylan a lot,
defensive end. And Malik Silla, finally, he no longer looks like a basketball player out there. He looks like a 6'6" defensive end football player. So the D-line is it's an embarrassment of riches, and I think they're going to dominate football games. And still to this day, the thing that kind of made me do a double take and go, wow, is Elko's optimism about the secondary. Because I hear that and I go, they don't have three guys that are going to factor in significantly. A transfer from Central Michigan at safety that's played a ton of football. A 5-star transfer from Alabama that's probably starting for the Tide right now had he stayed. And a 5-star signee who's here this summer that everyone talks about. So without them, they were very optimistic about the secondary. And if you look at Mike Elko's first run here, he inherited, like if he walked in here and looked at the roster, there was nothing at corner. That cupboard was absolutely bare, and he made do. And even at safety, with a couple of exceptions, he made do. I think the talent level at all 5 spots in that secondary and depth are at a whole nother level than what he had when he was here previously.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back. It's TexAgs Radio. Time to end the day with Double Days. Caller number 12, 979-693-1150. We'll hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Days. They've been serving Aggieland since 1994. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledays.com. I talked about it a while ago. We don't really have time to evaluate it, but I'm just going to read it. Ketchum earlier today. A few thoughts on A&M linebacker Torian York's comments from yesterday. He's a badass player. 2, he was pretty lightly recruited. His only true major offers were from A&M and Ole Miss. And 3, I've never heard a Texas player in 30 years complain they didn't have an offer from A&M.
So what's the issue? Everybody's, I guess.
And then he follows up with, it's a very Tech or Baylor thing for him to do.
Well, I don't like that. The part about .3, he's never heard a Texas play. I haven't heard any A&M players say that lately either, and I haven't heard enough of them say that. In today's college football and sports in general, and they learn this from the pros with the jersey swaps, and there are not enough people getting pissed off and storming off the field and not wanting to shake everybody's hand and hug their boys and swap jerseys. And in women's sports, they do the same thing. There's not enough, like, no, I'm really pissed that I lost. I don't want to talk to you. There's not enough. I'm damn sure not going to swap jerseys with y'all. I'll call you later. There's not enough.
Yep, I agree.
MJ, Kobe,
it's the LeBron
Tom
era.
Brady,
Changed it.
Jeter, Larry Bird, Michael Magic Johnson, Isaiah Thomas versus those people. There's way too much of everyone wanting to be everyone's friends. So I actually love that from Torian York, and I hope more of the A&M football team will embrace that mentality. And I know the narrative that they can make it slide into. The Texas fans will be like, "Oh, that's so little brother," or "That's so, rent free." No, like, this is a guy, you don't know the kid to understand. He takes umbrage with the fact that no one recruited him.
Yeah.
And so that's where his first couple points were accurate. He was lightly recruited. He does have a chip on his shoulder because he was lightly recruited. And he's trying to prove everyone wrong. And, yeah, I think Temple probably has a pretty high – I'm not familiar that much with Temple, probably high Longhorn presence. So, yeah, this dude's got a chip on his shoulder. I hope he brings it into that game, and I hope it bleeds into that locker room as well.
All right, we'll see you on Monday. Thanks.